Luo exclaimed. At that moment, Wang Lin's gaze crossed with his as if Wang Lin was looking at him. This surprised Luo. However, soon, Wang Lin's gaze swept by as if it was just a random coincidence. Wang Lin's breathing was calm. Right now, not only had his injuries recovered, but he felt like he held the power of the world. It was as if he could destroy this world with just one punch. His ancient Tao power made Wang Lin feel very comfortable. This was the real inheritance. It was obvious that not every inheritance would be extremely painful. The ancient Tao power echoed through his body. It moved through every inch of his blood and flesh, making Wang Lin feel like he controlled the world. His origin soul seemed to have obtained enough nourishment from his body. His body gave off a gentle light as if he was ready to use a spell at any moment. The effect of one drop of blood would not produce this effect. But if this drop allowed him to reach a level of completion, then it was completely different. Wang Lin felt the difference in his body. Although his 3 ancient clan powers were still at 8 stars, they were even stronger, and the light from the stars was even more intense. Wang Lin vaguely felt a call from deep within this frozen world. This call was the same as when he felt Yi Mo's right arm. Wang Lin hadn't noticed anything before he had absorbed the last drop of blood. As Wang Lin calmed his ancient Tao power so that none of it would leak out, the female ancient god slowly sat up. She looked at Wang Lin with awe in her eyes. At that moment, Wang Lin was like the ancestor of the 3 ancient clans, which made her heart tremble. Many thanks. If I can find the real door, I'll definitely help you leave this place. Wang Lin got up and clasped his hands at the woman. The female ancient god nodded and didn't speak. What is sealed there? Wang Lin pointed to where he was feeling something calling him. That is the back mountain of the Dongling sect, and where the Dongling pool is. However, it was only created from Master S memory, so it doesn't have any power. The female ancient god looked up with confusion in her eyes. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he looked over. After pondering a bit, he flew into the air. I am going to check that place. I thank you for today. I clearly separate my grudges and thanks. Our grievance from before is over, and I still owe you. I'll help you leave this place. Wang Lin clasped his hands at the female ancient god and flew toward the ice that was calling him. The ice was surrounded by cold energy, but this didn't stop Wang Lin. The ice only had an effect on other people, and for Wang Lin it was like flat ground. As Wang Lin moved through the ice, even he felt cold. However, as long as he cycled a bit of his cultivation, this sense of coldness would dissipate. The ice was like a mirror. It vaguely reflected his figure as he moved, making it seem like a vague false shadow was following him. Wang Lin only took a glance and moved forward like nothing had happened. This place was very big, but with Wang Lin's speed, it only took half an incense stick of time before the call got even more clear. It was less than 100,000 feet away. Although the world here was sealed, Wang Lin could see that this place was a tall mountain surrounded by ice. After crossing the mountain, Wang Lin could see a large pool behind the mountain. This pool was like a lake, but it was also sealed. A faint sense of celestial energy surrounded the pool. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he carefully moved forward. A moment later, he arrived above the pool and looked down. His pupils immediately shrank. Although the pool was frozen, it was translucent. If one looked carefully from above, they would see something inside the pool. It was a giant arm, a left arm. Yi Mo's left arm. Wang Lin took a deep breath and his eyes shined brightly. When he came here before, he had a guess. He originally thought it was Yi Mo's left eye, but he didn't expect it to be the left arm. After I fused with Yi Mo's right arm, the heaven ripping spell could rip apart third step cultivators. If I fuse with the left arm and use the heaven ripping spell, its power. When Wang Lin thought of this, his heart started pounding. He stomped his right foot in an attempt to enter the ice, but a rebound force came from the pool. His body trembled and he wasn't able to enter the ice. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he stared at the ice below. This place was very strange and different from the other ice here. Dongling Pool, this place should be the Dongling Pool. I just don't know what's so mysterious about it for the 7-colored celestial sovereign to recreate it. Wang Lin carefully looked at it but found nothing. The frozen pool looked very ordinary. He knelt down and placed his right hand on the ice. He gently pressed down and cracking sounds echoed. Cracks appeared as the frozen pool shook. However, just as the cracks appeared, cold energy came out and the ice returned to normal. Wang Lin waved his sleeve and blood light shined as the blood sword appeared. With a bang, the blood sword flew toward the ice. A depression appeared in the ice and countless cracks spread, but they all recovered in an instant. Wang Lin sat on the ice pool and his gaze penetrated the ice, landing on Yimo's left arm. He gradually saw through some clues. This pool of ice has fused with Yimo's left arm, so the ice has Yimo's recovery ability. Even if it is destroyed, it will recover instantly. Wang Lin didn't think this in his head but muttered it as if he was talking to himself or someone else. Xuanluo had his hands behind his back and was floating above the pool. He was also looking at the ice, and when he heard Wang Lin's words, he smiled, revealing a strange light in his eyes. It couldn't be entered, and couldn't be broken. Wang Lin frowned as he let out a cold snort and his 5 fingers formed a claw. This ancient Dao power gathered in his 5 fingers, and the 5 fingers gave off a ghostly light along with dense ancient Dao aura. Immortal ancient Dao! Wang Lin let out a roar and countless overlapping shadows appeared over his right hand. Thousands of shadows seemed to appear, and the moment they all overlapped to form one, Wang Lin's right hand reached toward the ice. Thunderous rumbles echoed across the world. As Wang Lin's hand grabbed the ice, the countless shadows that had disappeared suddenly reappeared. This claw was like Wang Lin striking countless times. With the immortal ancient Dao, Wang Lin attacked the recovering ice. Wang Lin let out a roar as his fingers clawed into the ice and pulled out a palm-sized piece of ice. Holding the ice, Wang Lin carefully looked at it and burned it with his fire essence, but he couldn't melt it at all. His eyes narrowed, and he felt that there was a strange force inside this ice. Wang Lin found this force similar to an essence. But there was a difference. It was as if this place wasn't sealed by ice, and if he soaked inside the pool, his essences would benefit greatly. However, not only was this power weak, but it also faded in and out. Wang Lin pondered for a bit, and his eyes revealed enlightenment. This place had been created by the 7-colored celestial sovereign from his memories and nourished by his own life force. This Dongling pool likely existed on the immortal astral continent, and its effect was likely nourishing essences. The 7-colored celestial sovereign's cultivation was limited, so he could only emulate the aura but not the effect. Wang Lin pondered for a while and put the ice into his storage space. It was very strange and didn't melt inside his storage space. Instead, it gave off a chilly aura. Staring at the ice, Wang Lin took a deep breath and raised his right hand. As the immortal ancient Dao filled his hand, he clawed at the ice once more. Thunderous rumbles echoed as time passed. Using this dumb method, Wang Lin took several hours to create a tunnel into the ice. In half an instant stick of time, the last rumble echoed. Wang Lin clawed out a piece of ice and exposed Yimo's left arm. Only a palm-sized patch of skin was exposed. It was gray but gave off powerful ancient Dao aura that entered Wang Lin's mind. Wang Lin took a deep breath and sat down. His left hand pressed against the exposed skin. The moment his left hand pressed down, Yimo's left arm gave off a ghostly light that penetrated the ice. This gave the ice a strange sense of beauty. This light continued to spread out in all directions. It ended up shrouding the surrounding 10,000 kilometers before dissipating. Time slowly passed. Wang Lin spread out part of his divine sense to check his surrounding as he slowly absorbed Yimo's left arm. With his experience from absorbing the right arm, Wang Lin was familiar with the process. After 3 days, Yimo's left arm slowly shrank. As it shrank, the ghostly light that had spread out over 10,000 kilometers shrank. When all the ghostly light returned, Yimo's left arm turned into a strand of smoke and entered Wang Lin's left arm. International Children's Day brings tears and wishing for the like button for the video. A sting of pain came from Wang Lin's left arm. He felt like something was drilling into his heart. Cold sweat broke from Wang Lin's forehead, but his expression remained unchanged. He slowly raised his right hand and looked at the gas that was drilling into his left arm. The gas seemed to have no end and continued to enter Wang Lin's left arm. Wang Lin's left arm gradually became rough, and complicated runes flickered on it. It wasn't until 1 instant stick of time passed that the last strand of gas entered Wang Lin's left arm. That feeling of being able to tear open the world that he felt when he obtained the right arm emerged in Wang Lin's heart. He slowly moved his 5 fingers on his left hand and cracking sounds echoed. After a long time, Wang Lin formed a fist and walked forward. He appeared at the center of the ice pool. Wang Lin raised both his hands and felt a powerful strength fill his body. After absorbing Yimo's left arm, a shocking change occurred to the 3 ancient clan stars between his eyebrows and in his eyes. This change was the sign of the 9th star appearing. A vague vortex had appeared. Wang Lin closed his eyes and felt the ancient Tao power and the powerful force in his body. A moment later, Wang Lin suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the ice pool below. His eyes revealed a golden glow as his hands reached toward the ice pool and mercilessly ripped it. Heaven ripping. Wang Lin let out a roar, and both his hands clawed at the void. His hands spread to both sides and the world rumbled. A giant crack appeared in the frozen pool. The moment this crack appeared, a heaven-shattering sound echoed. Layers of ice collapsed, and ice exploded everywhere. The entire pool disintegrated. The earth trembled, and after the pool collapsed, a giant crack appeared. Thunderous rumbles rang out as the crack moved like an earth dragon and spread. An even more intense rumble echoed as the earth collapsed, and the earth dragon extended deeper into the ground. In the core of the cave, the furnace surrounded by black gas was covered in faces. Anyone that entered would have their face appear on the furnace. However, at this moment most of the faces had disappeared completely. Even the 7-colored Taoist's face had disappeared completely. On the front and back, the faces of Wang Lin and old Ghost John were extremely clear and surrounded by the black gas. At this moment, in the space the second flower was in, a crack appeared on the frozen flower's root. This crack continued to expand until it penetrated the flower. The heaven-ripping spell had ripped this world open. Wang Lin looked at the frozen world and stepped forward without hesitation. He disappeared into the earth. The 7-colored Taoist no longer needs to be feared. Now I need to deal with old Ghost John. He is cautious and suspicious. So it will be difficult to deal with him. Wang Lin appeared in the space the third flower was located. This place was completely gray and had no trace of life. This place was completely dead. Even the third flower, before Wang Lin, seemed to be lacking water and had withered. The leaves were dry and the petals broken. It was dead. Staring at the third flower, Wang Lin knew he didn't need to enter. The third flower had been destroyed many years ago. After staring at the flower for a long time, his eyes lit up. In the end, he gave up setting up another ambush. That kind of ambush could only be used once. If he tried a second time, old Ghost John wouldn't fall for it. With a sigh, Wang Lin stepped forward and disappeared before the dead flower. He went toward the space the fourth flower was in. When Wang Lin appeared in the space the fourth flower was in, he saw a black flower behind him. Black liquid was dripping from the flower, and after countless years the liquid had formed a black ocean below the flower. This ocean was completely calm, without any wind or waves. Only the flower stuck out from the ocean. Staring at the black flower, Wang Lin smelled blood. This smell had been here for a long time, and when he smelled it, he felt a sense of decay. This smell of blood came from the dead ocean below him. After pondering a bit, Wang Lin knew time was of the essence. After hesitating for a bit, he stepped forward toward the black flower. Just as he was about to enter, Wang Lin stopped. He vaguely felt a roar coming from the flower. Wang Lin was familiar with this voice. Tuosen Wang Lin was startled, and his eyes became serious. He took a closer look at the black flower that covered most of the sky. His eyes lit up as he landed on a black petal and disappeared without a trace. Half an hour after Wang Lin entered the flower, everyone else arrived. When they saw the dead ocean below, their expressions became serious. However, they didn't hesitate much, and all entered the world inside the fourth flower. The sky of this dim world was covered in endless fog. Below it was endless fog as well. The roars that came from inside the fog could make one's mind tremble. There were some platforms floating here, and they were of varying sizes. There were even dried-up bodies that looked like they had their flesh and blood drained until they were like skeletons. Wang Lin was standing on a platform. He looked around and revealed a bitter smile. He had to reveal a bitter smile. He knew this place. This was the ancient tomb that he got his ancient Tao inheritance from. I should have thought of this a long time ago. The 7-colored celestial sovereign created this place to bury Emo. How could the 7-colored celestial sovereign have created this place for no reason? So it turns out to be the fourth flower. Wang Lin looked at this place with a complicated expression. He was very familiar with this place. No wonder I thought I heard Tusi's voice. Isn't T2C inside the ancient tomb? Wang Lin pondered for a moment before walking to the end of the stone platform and looking down at the fog below. He remembered that there were several more layers below this fog. There was an extremely terrifying aura down there that had made him stop and leave. When he obtained Yi Mo's inheritance, he felt like there was a heart at the bottom layer. It was obviously Yi Mo's heart. Aside from Yi Mo's left eye, the only thing left is the heart. Wang Lin had obtained most of Yi Mo's inheritances. He knew that Yi Mo's body had already collapsed. Only his arms had been cut off and thus remained. If he could absorb Yi Mo's heart at the bottom, his inheritance would reach completion. Of course, this completion was missing the left eye. If he could absorb Yi Mo's heart, even without the left eye, it was likely that Wang Lin could form his 9th ancient god star. Even his ancient devil star might reach 9. As a result, Wang Lin would become a 9-star ancient god and his ancient Tao power would erupt. 9-star ancient god. If I were to expand my body completely, how big would I become? Wang Lin closed his eyes to muse the pros and cons. Xuanluo was on the opposite side of the stone platform. He looked at the fog below and let out a sigh. This is where that child Yi Mo died. A moment later, Wang Lin suddenly opened his eyes. They were filled with determination. Riches can be found in danger. Wang Lin had spent his life in dangerous situations in order to reach the cultivation level he was at today. Most of his power had been obtained through risking his life. So what if he risked it once more? In addition, due to the memories he had gotten from the third soul, Wang Lin had a guess on what the terrifying aura in the second-to-last layer was. Ancient tomb back then. I didn't dare to go to the next layer, but since I've returned, I can give this opportunity up. Wang Lin made up his mind and stepped toward the fog outside the platform. He fell into the fog and dropped down. His head was pointed downward as charged into the depths like a fish. No one knew this place better than him. Wang Lin had obtained all the maps here back then, so he no longer needed to upgrade this platform. The map was in his mind, including the entrance to the next layer. If there was really one person whose understanding of this place was second to Wang Lin's, then it was the third concubine, who was still a virgin. At this moment, the third concubine was floating in the fog and looking around in confusion. After a long time, a complicated gaze appeared in her eyes. The fourth flower was this place. The third concubine had obtained most of the map to the first layer back then. It was also here that a ripple was set off in her calm mind. Here, she had met Wang Lin. In the end, she had been sent out of here with Wang Lin's help, so she hadn't been sealed here. She liked to be alone and was not good at communicating with others. When she was forced to become the 7-colored concubine, she had only agreed for the sake of her sect. She didn't have many friends on the immortal astral continent. Even back in the Heavenly Gate sect, she would spend most of her time cultivating. Due to her personality, she always moved by herself among the concubines. It could be said that Wang Lin was the first person to help her in her life. This feeling she had never felt before caused her to feel confusion and complication. She didn't even know the reason. He has helped me once, so I need to repay him. I want to go home. I wonder if teacher is still there, and also my little sister. She is more talented than me. The third concubine silently pondered and became homesick. When Wang Lin entered the tomb, inside the palace where he had obtained the inheritance, the person that was Tuo Sen, or 2C, opened his eyes. Quickly approaching 30,900 words, Leo fierce as a tiger. Wishing for sharing, for likes on the video, for channel followers. Inside the ancient tomb, Wang Lin was rapidly falling through the fog. The wind howled in his ears as he moved down. His divine sense was spread out, carefully observing his surroundings. There were many strange things inside the fog. Wang Lin understood this. He had seen most of the fierce beasts here as well. He changed his speed to avoid the nearby beasts and headed toward the second-to-last layer here. The second-to-last layer was where Wang Lin had felt the terrifying aura. However, the more he thought about it now, the more he believed that that aura was the 7-colored celestial sovereign's most powerful ace, the Yi puppet. After Wang Lin entered the core of the cave, he would sacrifice them based on the method the 7-colored celestial sovereign left behind. After each sacrifice, he would feel his connection with it strengthen. He had killed a lot of people at this point, and thanks to that mysterious connection, Wang Lin was 80% certain that the terrifying aura belonged to Yi. The purpose of the ancient tomb is likely to nourish the puppet. After the 7-colored celestial sovereign killed Yi Mo, he used him to complete this puppet. Wang Lin's eyes shined. With the help of memories from the third soul, Wang Lin had guessed most of it. As he moved forward, the fog gradually became thin. He was moving toward the entrance to the next layer. As he got closer, the fog became so thin it could no longer block his vision, and black earth appeared below him. This earth was endless and was covered in black algae-like vegetation. As the plants swayed, they released strands of black gas. This was a strange scene. There was no sun here, but there was ghostly light coming from the black algae. Wang Lin could clearly see everything around him due to this light. This place was completely silent. Even after Wang Lin arrived, black algae continued to sway and release black gas without any change. His gaze swept past the vegetation on the ground, and he was wary. He was far too aware of the dangers of the ancient tomb. His divine sense was spread out as he carefully flew forward. In his memory, the map from back then showed the entrance was not far ahead. Half an incense stick of time later, as Wang Lin moved forward, the scenery before him changed. More than 100,000 feet away, there was an open area of 10,000 feet with no vegetation. There was an ancient transfer array built at the center. This formation had existed for an unknown amount of time and was still operational. However, it was silent, and flashes of ghostly light came from it, giving off a sense of power. After seeing this transfer array, Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. Just as he closed in, a heaven-shattering roar came from the transfer array. This roar contained a terrifying aura that made Wang Lin's heart tremble, so he stopped. The moment the roar echoed, the algae in the area began to sway more violently. Large amounts of black gas were forced out and flew into the air. The earth began to tremble and move like waves. The sound disappeared slowly after a long time. Wang Lin's face was pale as he stood outside the formation and pondered for a long time. Then he looked up with determination in his eyes. If my deduction is correct, this shouldn't be too dangerous. On the contrary, it might be a great fortune for me. Yi puppet Wang Lin no longer hesitated and walked into the ancient transfer array. The moment he entered the formation, it activated. Ghostly light scattered in all directions and spread out to cover tens of thousands of kilometers. The third concubine was rapidly moving in the fog. She didn't know the exact location but had a sense of where it was. However, she suddenly stopped when she saw the ghostly light that pierced through the fog. Her eyes lit up, and she immediately, carefully moved toward the source of the ghostly light. After one incense stick of time, she saw the ancient transfer array on the ground. The third concubine hesitated outside the formation for a long time before she clenched her teeth and walked into the formation. In the second-to-last layer of the ancient tomb, the fog wasn't as dense as it was in the upper layers. Wang Lin was carefully moving through here. Although there was light, it was red and looked like fresh blood. Occasionally, roars would come from the surrounding fog, and pairs of red eyes would stare at Wang Lin. However, with Wang Lin's ancient Dao aura, they didn't dare to approach. After all, the current Wang Lin was not the same as before. As long as he was cautious, there was no immediate danger. As he quickly moved forward, the fog around him moved quickly, and a roar that sounded like it came from next to his ears echoed. This roar shook the entire world, and it felt like this layer was going to collapse. Wang Lin suddenly stopped. It was as if a powerful force had hit him along with the roar. It pushed him back 1,000 feet before the roar dissipated. Wang Lin's face was pale and his eyes shined brightly. That roar had shaken his mind, and he was almost injured. What a powerful aura! If that thing is really the Yi puppet and I can use it, Wang Lin moved forward once more. Wang Lin gradually got closer to the source of the roar until he saw a mountain. This mountain wasn't tall, but it was covered by red fog. When Wang Lin got close and saw it, the red fog around the mountain began to move. It formed a giant head. This head had no hair and was bald. It was blurry, making it impossible to see its appearance. However, its mouth was open, letting out that shocking roar. The moment the roar appeared, Wang Lin's hands formed a seal and waved. His essence appeared before him, and his ancient Dao power filled his body to resist the power of this roar. At this moment, he was hundreds of thousands of feet away, but even at this distance, the roar hit him with a powerful force. Popping sounds echoed as Wang Lin's essences were knocked back into his body. Wang Lin's face was pale and he was pushed back 10,000 feet before the roar dissipated. Blood flowed down from the corner of his mouth. The head formed by the red fog seemed to melt before returning to the mountain. It is Yi. Wang Lin stared at the misty peak. Through the connection in his heart, he was very certain. Unfortunately, even though I have killed a lot of people as sacrifices, it is not enough if I want to control this thing. I need to kill one more powerful cultivator. Wang Lin frowned as he looked at the mountain before him. Just as he was pondering, he looked into the distance. Sir Wang Lin's body flickered and disappeared as he hid himself. Shortly after, a golden light flashed and a giant golden door floated over. Behind the door sat the third concubine. Her face was pale and blood was flowing out from the corner of her mouth. She looked at the mountain before her with fear in her eyes. She didn't expect this layer of the ancient tomb to have something this terrifying. She clenched her teeth. Taking the moment when the mountain didn't let out another roar, she sent out a message. Wang Lin, I know you were here. I have no malice. I believe my power and spells can be of help to you. Please appear. The surroundings were completely silent. Only the churning of the fog in the distance gave off a muffled rumble. The third concubine's voice echoed. After seeing no reaction, her expression dimmed and she shook her head. The golden door slowly retreated and she was ready to move to another location to search for Wang Lin. However, just at this moment, the fog on the mountain began to rumble and that faint shadow appeared to let out a roar. Under the roar, the world changed colors and layers of invisible ripples echoed across the air. The earth trembled and the sky distorted. The expression of the third concubine changed. She bit the tip of her tongue and spat blood onto the golden door. The door shined brightly to resist the roar, but it quickly collapsed. The third concubine's face turned pale and she immediately retreated. Then her hands formed a seal. There was a flash of golden light, and 4 more golden doors appeared. Thunderous rumbles echoed, and the 4 golden doors shattered one by one. The third concubine had borrowed this time to retreat more than 10,000 feet. She was about to use another spell to resist the residual shockwave when a cold voice chode. Why are you looking for me? As the voice echoed, Wang Lin appeared before the woman. He waved his right hand behind him to block the shockwave. Wang Lin's body was strong enough to resist this level of shockwave. Wang Lin. The third concubine was startled and joy appeared in her eyes, but she soon hid it. You once helped me inside the ancient tomb. This time, I want to help you. No need. It is dangerous here. Don't you stay here? Wang Lin coldly stared at the third concubine and turned to leave to find the soul of a powerful cultivator to sacrifice. I can help you. The third concubine bit her lip and raised her right hand. There was a string of golden beads on her wrist. The golden beads gave off a gentle glow. My teacher gifted me this. It can turn into 7 golden doors. If you want to enter this mountain, this item can help you. Tears, streaming long, wishing for the like button for the video. Wang Lin stopped and looked at the third concubine. When he met her gaze, Wang Lin saw seriousness and persistence in her eyes. This was the feeling Wang Lin had. Wang Lin's cold expression relaxed a bit. With Wang Lin's wisdom, he could see that she really wanted to help him. He recalled when they met in the ancient tomb. After silently pondering for a bit, Wang Lin's gaze fell on the woman's wrist. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze and slowly said, "What is your request?" The third concubine whispered, "There is no request. You've helped me, so I'll help you once." Hearing her words, Wang Lin's expression became a bit strange. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin spoke softly. "It was a simple matter back then. You don't need to take it to heart. You helped me, so I'll help you." The third concubine raised her head and looked at Wang Lin. Her beautiful face had a unique charm at this moment. "However, right now I don't plan on entering the mountain." Wang Lin revealed a rare smile. The third concubine was startled and didn't know what to say. "What is your real name?" Wang Lin looked at the sky in the distance. There was a flash of coldness in his eyes. The third concubine hesitated for a bit and then softly said, "Tang Shan." "Activate your 7 golden doors and step back a bit." Wang Lin's voice suddenly became cold as he looked into the distance. Tang Shan's eyes narrowed. Her cultivation level was not low, so she immediately noticed the abnormality. She listened to Wang Lin without hesitation and golden light shined around her. 7 golden doors appeared around her. A ray of light was charging toward this place from the distance. This ray of light contained a giant stone platform. This platform shined and a young man wearing blue was standing on top of it. Wang Lin's gaze instantly met with the young man's. After their gazes met, Thunderous rumbles echoed in their minds. It was as if they had attacked each other with a spell when their gazes met. Wang Lin's body didn't move at all, and he let out a cold snort. The young man's body staggered a bit, and he took half a step back. He looked at Wang Lin with powerful battle intent. Wang Lin, I have finally caught up to you. I am Yun Yifeng from Planet 5 Elements. Our last battle was rushed, and not satisfying enough. Today, do you dare to fight me head-on without any schemes or the Li Guangbo? The light disappeared from the stone platform. The young man in blue looked at Wang Lin. If you can beat me, I'll listen to all your orders while we are in the core of the cave world. Yun Yifeng stepped forward off the platform and faced Wang Lin. In his eyes, the third concubine, Tang Shan, didn't exist. Wang Lin was the only one in his eyes. Staring at Yun Yifeng, the coldness in Wang Lin's eyes became even stronger. He was missing the soul of a powerful cultivator, and this person had come by himself. This would save Wang Lin some time, but this person's cultivation level wasn't that high. Wang Lin felt that just his soul wasn't enough. Back then on Planet 5 Elements, he had matched Wang Lin's strength, but Wang Lin had just broken through the formation and was injured. Also, Wang Lin's heaven-ripping spell wasn't complete back then. Now Wang Lin was at the peak of his cultivation, and his heaven-ripping spell was heaven-shattering. Wang Lin didn't consider Yun Yifeng a threat. However, if this person followed through with his promise after losing, then Wang Lin would be moved. Wang Lin slowly said, "Your words are meaningless." Yun Yifeng's eyes lit up and his right hand hit his forehead. A drop of oath of blood flew toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin accepted the blood and carefully looked at it. Yun Yifeng's eyes became cold and he raised his right hand. A giant blade appeared and he sliced at Wang Lin as he stepped forward. Thunderous rumbles echoed. This blade seemed to split the heavens and formed a ray of blade energy. The power of the world seemed to gather on it as it closed in on Wang Lin. The moment the blade descended, Wang Lin stepped forward with a cold snort. His right hand formed a fist and his ancient Tao power gathered as he threw a punch at Yun Yifeng. The world changed colors with this punch, and the entire world became distorted as if it was going to collapse. The ancient Tao shadow appeared and punched the blade. In an instant, the blade and punch connected. The blade collapsed into countless pieces. Wang Lin's punch also dissipated. Yun Yifeng's body was pushed back 1,000 feet, and he raised his right hand with a laugh. He waved his right hand, and black light appeared before him, forming black fog. He reached into the fog and took out a blade. He sliced at Wang Lin, and then reached into the fog once more. In an instant, 7 blades were taken out of the fog and sliced at Wang Lin. The 7 slices connected together to form a monstrous blade energy that flew toward Wang Lin. 8 blades cut the soul, Yun Yifeng roared, and 7 overlapping shadows appeared. It was as if 7 copies of him had appeared, all holding the blade. The 7 of them attacked at the same time. These 7 blades connected together, and the vague signs of an 8th blade appeared. 2 blades for the handle, 4 blades for the body, and 1 blade for the tip. The world became distorted and dim. It was as if Yun Yifeng's most powerful spell was the only thing left in this world. As the 8 blades closed in, Wang Lin's expression didn't change at all. He raised his hands and ripped the sky. A giant pair of hands appeared before Wang Lin. This pair of hands was rough and covered in countless scars. Emo's arms. As Wang Lin moved, these 2 arms grabbed the void and mercilessly tore the sky. Thunderous rumbles echoed and a giant rift was ripped open. This rift connected the earth and the sky. From afar, it looked as if the world before Wang Lin had collapsed. The rift contained an ancient aura and destructive force that could destroy the world. Rumbles echoed as the 8 blades collided with the rift. The blades collapsed along with Yun Yifeng's body. Shortly after, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th bodies collapsed with the blade. You want to fight head-on? I want to even use the stop spell. You want a head-on fight? I'll give you a head-on fight. Wang Lin's voice was cold and echoed across the world. The moment Wang Lin's words echoed, his hands ripped at the sky once more and tore open the connection of the world before him. Thunderous rumble echoed as Yun Yifeng's 5th, 6th, and 7th bodies all shattered. A muffled groan echoed as smoke came from the 7 collapsed bodies and reformed into Yun Yifeng's original body in the distance. He coughed out blood and his face was deathly pale. He retreated a few steps and looked at Wang Lin with fear in his eyes. This fear was no less intense than when he saw the Li Guangbao being drawn. Is this battle head-on? As Yun Yifeng retreated, the rift before Wang Lin slowly dissipated. Wang Lin stood there with his white hair fluttering. He held the oath of blood Yun Yifeng had sent out. Yun Yifeng silently pondered. He felt bitterness in his heart as he nodded. The moment he nodded, the oath of blood in Wang Lin's hand gave off a dazzling red light. It slowly dissipated into Wang Lin's palm and became an oath. Yun Yifeng was a gentleman, so he didn't play any tricks with the oath of blood. Since he had lost, he had lost. He didn't know that this had saved his life. If he had tried anything, Wang Lin would have killed without hesitation, even if killing him would be wasted some time. However, at this moment, Wang Lin had a better choice. He looked into the distance and felt 3 familiar auras closing in. They came just on time. Perhaps I can borrow his power to probe that person. Just as this battle ended, the fog around the mountain began to move and formed that bold head. A thunderous roar echoed. Wang Lin's body was surrounded by his ancient Dao aura, and he retreated more than 1,000 feet to resist it. Tang Shan had witnessed the battle before and quickly retreated with Wang Lin. As the thunderous rumbles echoed, the sky in the distance distorted. A blurry figure arrived. Yun Yifeng, kill this person. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. His right hand reached out and there was a flash of bloodlight. The blood sword appeared and flew toward the blurry figure. A sun appeared before the blurry figure and gave off endless sunlight that collided with the blood sword. A thunderous rumble echoed as the blurry figure was forced to retreat, revealing the sovereign. The moment he appeared, Yun Yifeng clenched teeth and swallowed a few pills. He charged out and used the 8 blades cut the soul. 8 illusory blades appeared and connected together as they flew toward the sovereign. There was also Tang Shan. She didn't hesitate to form a seal as she waved her hand. 7 golden doors appeared before Yun Yifeng and 7 more also appeared before Wang Lin. Protection spell. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. Most spells were forced on attack, and even protection spells could only be used on oneself. Those that could be used on others were extremely rare. This was the first time Wang Lin had seen one that could be used on someone else. The Heavenly Door sect that Tang Shan belonged to was only a small sect, and not one of the 13 major sects, but it was still famous. The reason was that most of their spells were protection spells that could be used to protect others. The like button for the VIDEO is in danger, urgently wishing for the like button for the VIDEO's aid. Various spells closed in as the sovereign walked out. The sovereign was extremely cautious. Although he didn't know much about the ancient tomb, when he had the 7-colored Taoists save Miao Yin and company, he had learned some of the secrets here. That was why he could arrive here so quickly. He had witnessed the fierce battle in the second flower, and had seen Wang Lin use the bow 3 times. With his understanding of Wang Lin, and his own analysis, he was certain Wang Lin no longer had the power to draw the bow again. Otherwise, with his understanding of Wang Lin wouldn't have let the 7-colored Taoist go, and then let old Ghost John chase after the 7-colored Taoist. In his mind, without absolute certainty, Wang Lin wouldn't set up a plan to use the lion to devour the tiger. From his point of view, he couldn't guess Wang Lin's limits. Because he had come to this conclusion, the sovereign thought that this was a great opportunity since he had confirmed that Wang Lin was seriously injured. This was the best time for him to kill Wang Lin to get his revenge and take the 3rd soul. That's why he had moved at full speed to chase Wang Lin into the 4th flower, while old Ghost John was chasing down the 7-colored Taoist. He had used his understanding of the ancient tomb that he had learned from Miao Yin and company to rush toward the 2nd-to-last floor before everyone else. He expected that aside from Wang Lin, the 3rd concubine would arrive before him. He hadn't expected Yun Yifeng to be faster than him. Clearly, Yun Yifeng had his own methods and luck. At this moment, the moment he appeared, he faced a spell that collided with his Law of Origin spell. The power of the attack was deflected, and the sovereign retreated 3 steps. When he looked around, his expression became gloomy. Yun Yifeng stepped forward and the 8 blades sliced down toward the sovereign. Since he had lost to Wang Lin, he would not go back on his word. While they were in the core of the cave world, he would listen to Wang Lin's orders. At this moment, the 7 golden doors surrounded his body and a warm feeling nourished him. Even his injuries recovered a bit, and the 7 doors acted as a protective layer. It helped to offset the impact and allowed him to move even faster. Tang Shan moved after forming the 7 golden doors for Wang Lin and Yun Yifeng. Her right hand formed a seal and 9 golden flying swords appeared. They formed a sword formation and flew toward the sovereign. The 2 of them attacked the sovereign at the same time. The 8 blades cut the soul combined with Yun Yifeng's cultivation had shocking power. The sovereign waved his sleeve and 7-colored light flew toward Yun Yifeng. Thunderous rumbles echoed. Yun Yifeng had been injured by Wang Lin, and the 7 golden doors collapsed. He coughed out blood and clenched his teeth as he sliced down with a roar. 7 of the blades shattered when they collided with the 7-colored light, but the 8th blade was about to penetrate the 7-colored light and land on the sovereign. The sovereign's body trembled and thunderous rumbles echoed as he retreated 3 steps. He suddenly looked up at Tang Shan's 9 golden flying swords filled with strong celestial bloodline closing in. They were very fast. The moment the sovereign retreated, they closed in. The sovereign raised his hand and his thumb and index finger formed a circle. He faced Tang Shan. Golden light came from the circles formed by his hand. The light seemed to form countless swords that flew forward. They collided with Tang Shan's 9 swords and the 9 swords shattered. The fragments were pushed back and endless rays of light closed in on Tang Shan. The golden beads on Tang Shan's wrist shined and 7 golden doors appeared to resist the 7-colored light. Thunderous rumbles echoed as blood flowed out from the corner of Tang Shan's mouth, and she quickly retreated. Unveil eye! Even someone injured dares to sneak attack me? The sovereign stepped forward, but at this moment, Wang Lin's hand grabbed the void. He used the heaven-ripping spell, and the rift that connected the sky and earth appeared once more. It charged at the sovereign. All of this happened in an instant. The moment the sovereign attacked to counter Tang Shan and Yun Yifeng's attacks, the rift closed in. The sovereign could ignore the injured Yun Yifeng and the 3rd concubine, but he couldn't ignore Wang Lin's spell. The power of the heaven-ripping spell was terrifying. The sovereign's pupils shrank and the circles formed by his hands faced Wang Lin. His power of going through several arcane tribulance suddenly erupted. 3 destructive sovereign Dao. First spirit destruction Dao. The golden circle before the sovereign shined and collided with the heaven-ripping spell. Second ghost destruction Dao. The sovereign's robe expanded and a sun appeared before him. The law of origin spread out from his body, making him look like a celestial god. Third god destruction Dao. The sovereign bit the tip of his tongue and spat out blood. It became a giant golden print that smashed toward the rift Wang Lin had created. Thunderous rumbles echoed when the endless golden light from the circles before him touched the rift. The circles suddenly collapsed, and then the sun behind him flew toward the rift. At the same time, the golden print closed in. Thunderous rumbles echoed and Wang Lin's heaven-ripping spell shattered. However, the sun also dissipated before the heaven-ripping spell. Only the golden print broke through everything and smashed toward Wang Lin. Without the Li Guangbo, I want to see how you resist me. The sovereign's breathing was rough as he charged at Wang Lin. On the ground not far away from Wang Lin, Xuanluo calmly watched everything. Along the way, he had witnessed Wang Lin's methods, cunning, persistence, and decisiveness. He now admired Wang Lin greatly. At this moment, he was eager to know how Wang Lin would resist this arcane tribulent cultivator's spell. Will he take Lian Daozhen's brother out to use the immortal celestial body again? Xuanluo was very interested, but a moment later, his eyes narrowed. He saw that there was no panic in Wang Lin's eyes. When the golden print broke through the void, Wang Lin retreated 3 steps. The first step put Wang Lin 1,000 feet from Xuanluo. After the second step, he was less than 300 feet from Xuanluo. With the third step, Wang Lin appeared beside Xuanluo. He wasn't before Xuanluo, but behind Xuanluo. After 3 steps, Wang Lin sat down. If he could see Xuanluo, then this scene would look very strange. Xuanluo turned around to look at Wang Lin. At the same time, after Wang Lin sat down, he looked at the void before him. Their gazes seemed to meet. Xuanluo looked at Wang Lin for a while until the golden light shined in the sky. The golden print was like a mountain as it descended, and it was less than 100 feet away. The ground around Wang Lin cracked and was pushed down. Interesting, Xuanluo suddenly smiled. He raised his right hand, casually raised his finger, and pointed at the golden print. The golden print stopped 30 feet above their heads. After the golden print was stopped, it flashed violently and suddenly moved again. However, it rapidly shrank until it was only the size of a palm and floated before Wang Lin. The golden print buzzed. This sound seemed to contain intelligence. It seemed to be trembling in submission. This thing now looked corporeal and had become a treasure. This suddenly change startled Yun Yifeng, who was about to attack again. He hadn't seen Wang Lin do anything. Wang Lin had just retreated 1,000 feet and sat down. The golden print had actually just stopped in the air. Tang Shan was also startled and stopped the seal her hands were forming. She was going to do her best to protect Wang Lin, but this sudden change shocked her. The two of them were only shocked, but the sovereign was dumbfounded, and his eyes were filled with terror. He couldn't believe what he was seeing, and he subconsciously rubbed his eyes. The shock in his heart was even more intense than when he saw Wang Lin use the Li Guang Bao. How can this be? This is impossible. What I used was a spell, not a treasure. That golden print was formed by my spell. It is an illusion. It shouldn't exist. It was formed by the power of my spell. How can it become corporeal and turn into a treasure? This kind of thing is impossible. Impossible. The sovereign trembled. Others might now know what it meant, but he knew. To turn an illusory spell into something corporeal. This kind of ability to change the world. The sovereign's face turned pale and he subconsciously took a few steps back. The shock bursting inside him was strong enough to break his mind. He had never felt this much fear before. No matter how panicked he was before, it could not compare to now. He didn't understand, couldn't imagine, or to be more accurate, he didn't dare to guess. This is something only Master S Big Brother, one of the 9 sons of the immortal astral continent, could do. The sovereign's heart trembled. He was completely frightened by this. In the distance, Yun Yifeng saw the sovereign's expression and looked at the golden print floating before Wang Lin. His eyes were filled with terror, as if he had thought of something, and he suddenly bowed his head. However, his expression was clearly seen by Wang Lin, who was paying close attention. Discover now. The like button for the VIDEO has dropped to 5th place. Tears brimming and wishing for the like button for the VIDEO. Wang Lin vaguely guessed Yun Yifeng's thoughts. This person was very cunning, so he wouldn't do things for no reason. However, Wang Lin had no time to pay attention to it. He raised his right hand and the golden print landed in his grasp. A cold feeling cycled through Wang Lin, and he felt a connection with the golden print. This item had just been created from the void and had no owner. Wang Lin's cultivation was imprinted in it, and he became this treasure's first owner. This golden print gave off a powerful aura and sealed the sovereign god destruction Dao spell. This spell had been used by the sovereign at full power, so its strength was the same as the sovereign using the spell himself. And due to it being created by Xuan Luo, it contained a hint of the 9 sons' power. As a result, this treasure was indestructible. The sovereign was terrified as Wang Lin devoured the print and began refining it in his origin soul. Xuan Luo stood before Wang Lin. He looked at Wang Lin profoundly, and then suddenly smiled. At this moment, the fear in the sovereign's heart reached a limit. He gave up on killing Wang Lin and retreated without hesitation. He was scared out of his mind, and his mind was buzzing. He was very smart and cunning, but he could have never expected Xuan Luo to be here. He believed that his Master's big brother had found this place. Thinking about how terrifying his Master's big brother was, the sovereign was soaked in cold sweat. He almost lost his wits. Just as he started retreating, there was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. He stood up and took a step forward. Thunderous rumbles echoed as he chased after the sovereign. Back then you tried to kill me with the life and death calamity. Today I'll give you a life and death calamity as well. Tuo Sen, you have already arrived. Do you want to fight me or help me fight this person? Wang Lin's voice echoed as he chased. Just as his voice echoed, a laugh echoed across the world. The world distorted behind the sovereign and a giant figure appeared. His body was half naked and gave off an ancient aura. It also gave off an arrogant aura. It was Tuo Sen. When his body appeared, his right hand formed a seal and punched toward the sovereign. With this punch, the world rumbled. It was as if this punch had absorbed all the power here, and it landed on the sovereign's body. The sovereign suddenly turned around. His hands formed a seal and sunlight surrounded his body. He seemed to turn into a sun when he collided with the punch. Thunderous rumbles echoed. The sovereign let out a muffled groan and retreated several steps. Tuo Sen's body also trembled, and he retreated 1,000 feet. He revealed a fierce smile. Satisfying. Wang Lin, don't he fight with spells like these celestials? Our clan must fight with our powerful bodies. Break the world and battle the celestials. As Tuo Sen spoke, popping sounds echoed from his body. His body expanded to more than tens of thousands of feet tall, but he didn't stop. He continued to expand. Soon, a giant ancient god hundreds of thousands of feet tall appeared in the second-to-last layer of the ancient tomb. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed and he revealed a smile. Rumbles came from his body, and for the first time he completely expanded his body. Wang Lin's body instantly grew until he was the same size as Tuo Sen. From afar, the two giants looked like two mountains sealing the sovereign's path. At the same time, Yun Yifeng's eyes flashed. He knew that the mysterious Xuan Luo was around, so he moved decisively. His hands formed a seal and his right hand pointed at the sky. There was a flash of purple light, and the purple light instantly formed a purple monkey. The monkey revealed a vicious gaze as it pounced toward the sovereign. Wang Lin has no chance of failing in the core of the cave. My plan won't go wrong. There was also the third concubine, Tang Shan. She clenched her teeth and the golden bead on her wrist shone. Golden doors appeared and overlapped with each other. The 7 golden doors fused into one. Golden light shined as the door transformed into a golden dragon that rushed toward the sovereign. The 4 of them attacked at the same time, and their power was amazing. Wang Lin and Tuo Sen each formed a fist, and their punches smashed down like 2 giant meteors. The sovereign's face was deathly pale, and he had no will to battle. He was completely shaken by what had happened to the golden print. He suspected his master's big brother was hiding around here. This thought made him tremble and made it impossible for him to use his full strength. The only thought in his mind was to escape. As Wang Lin and Tuo Sen's fists descended, the sovereign let out a roar as if he wanted to release all the fear in his body. He moved his hand as if he was holding 2 runs and collided with Wang Lin and Tuo Sen's punches. Thunderous rumbles echoed across the world. Tuo Sen's arm trembled and he retreated several steps. Wang Lin also trembled and retreated a few steps. At the same time, Yun Yifeng's spell that formed the monkey arrived, and it pounced on the sovereign. It turned into purple gas and entered the sovereign's body. The shadow of a monkey appeared between the sovereign's eyebrows. The sovereign trembled. Wang Lin and Tuo Sen's attacks had already caused his blood to boil. Then Yun Yifeng's spell from the immortal astral continent made it feel like his body was being torn apart. Then Tang Shan's golden dragon smashed into the sovereign's body. The sovereign turned around and smashed the golden dragon with his right hand. As the golden dragon collapsed, the sovereign coughed out a mouthful of blood for the first time. His expression became dim, and the fear in his eyes became even stronger. Wang Lin and Tuo Sen's ancient god power was something the sovereign dreaded. However, the difference between their cultivation levels were simply too wide. Although they were difficult to deal with, they had also paid a big price to seriously injure him. What he feared the most was what had happened to the golden print. He had a feeling that there was a 5th pair of eyes calmly looking at him. This feeling was very strong and almost made him go crazy. He also felt Tao Master Blue Dream's aura closing in. If Blue Dream arrived, he would be in danger. After coughing out blood, the sovereign's eyes were bloodshot. He suddenly looked up and ripples echoed under his feet as he tried to leave. However, at this moment, Wang Lin's right hand reached toward the void, and he opened his storage page. A dozen ancient leaves flew out. As the ghostly light flickered, these dozen ancient leaves rushed toward the sovereign and sealed his path of retreat. When the sovereign was sealed, there was a flash of killing inside Wang Lin's eyes, and he walked forward. He raised his hand to use his strongest spell, Heaven Ripping. The world was torn open and the rift flew toward the sovereign. The rift closed in on the sovereign in an instant. The sovereign formed a seal and slammed his hand toward the rift. At the same time, Tuo Sen's body moved and an overlapping shadow appeared. In a flash, the arrogant aura around him disappeared and was replaced by calmness and steadiness. It was as if he had become another person, as if he had become the awakened 2C. To be more accurate, the person that appeared was 2C. He raised his right hand and reached toward the void. Thunderous rumbles echoed and a giant spear appeared in his hand. Grabbing the spear, he stabbed toward the sovereign. Yun Yifeng and Tang Shan attacked once more. They all used their most powerful spells. Thunderous rumbles echoed. Yun Yifeng coughed out blood and was knocked into the ground. Blood started flowing from the corner of Tang Shan's mouth. She staggered back more than 10,000 feet, looking extremely weak. Tuxia's spear was caught by the sovereign. The sovereign's expression was fierce as his right palm slammed toward Tuxi. Tuxia's body trembled, and he retreated 1,000 feet, but he was not injured. After pushing back Tuxi, the sovereign turned around. At this moment, the heaven-ripping rift closed in and was less than 10 feet away. The sovereign's hair was a mess, and he bit his tongue without hesitation to spit out some of his essence blood. This blood was golden, and it penetrated the rift toward Wang Lin. If Wang Lin were hit by this blood, he would be in danger. At the critical moment, Wang Lin was still calm. The moment the blood closed in, Wang Lin said one word. Stop! Stop the heavens! Stop the earth! Stop all laws! The blood stopped for a moment before Wang Lin, and he calmly avoided it. He waved his hand and the blood sword flew out. However, at this moment, the rebound erupted in his body. He suppressed the rebound, but his face turned slightly pale. After an instant, the stop spell stopped working and the blood sprayed past Wang Lin, landing on the ground. Sizzling sounds came from the ground, and that part of the earth began to sink. The blood sword flashed, and a muffled groan came from the sovereign. The blood sword was too fast and shot toward the sovereign the moment he had spat out the blood. The sword pierced through the sovereign's right shoulder. Fresh blood sprayed out, and the sovereign's eyes became bloodshot. He raised his left hand and pointed at the sky. You re all courting death, fishing the moon in the well. The sovereign's Tao spell, to use the earth as a well that reflected everything in the sky. Then extract the soul through the reflection and kill. Wang Lin had seen this spell several times, and each time it had shocked him greatly. Forgot to mention, at the end of the month, wishing for the like button for the video. As the sovereign spoke, ripples appeared on the earth of the second-to-last layer of the ancient tomb, and it instantly turned water-like. The figures of Wang Lin and company appeared on the water. It was as if they were being drowned by the water in the well. Unless it was absolutely needed, Wang Lin wouldn't battle the sovereign. His enemies were the 7-colored Taoist and Old Ghost John. Adding the sovereign would make it extremely difficult. Although he didn't want to fight, the sovereign's purpose was to kill Wang Lin. Therefore, Wang Lin was forced to fight. Wang Lin also held a great advantage. Yun Yifeng, Tang Shan, and Tuo Sen had helped him seriously injure the sovereign. Coupled with Wang Lin's previous deduction, he was able to deal a serious blow to the sovereign's mind. Based on various conditions, this perfect situation to kill the sovereign had appeared. The most important thing was the third person Wang Lin had sensed after Tuo Sen and the sovereign. This third person was Tao Master Blue Dream. Wang Lin just didn't believe that they couldn't seal the sovereign with the 5 of them. At this moment, the sovereign's fishing the moon in the well appeared. His red eyes were filled with killing intent. He no longer wanted to escape, because he clearly felt that Tao Master Blue Dream had arrived. So what if Blue Dream is here? If you want to kill me, you all have to pay the price. Also, time is limited. Old Ghost John will arrive soon. They won't be able to kill me before Old Ghost John arrives. The earth that had turned into a well reflected Wang Lin and company's figures. Then a flash of blue light appeared. This blue light spread across the well in the sky. In the distance, Tao Master Blue Dream walked out. Wang Lin's eyes shined. When Tao Master Blue Dream arrived, he sent out a Da Vinci's message. Senior Blue Dream, can you seal the sovereign for 3 breaths? Blue Dream closed in and nodded. He waved his sleeve and the earth that had turned into a well trembled. The earth collapsed and the well shattered. Blue light entered the collapsed well and flew into the air as he waved his hand. It turned into a blue curtain that shrouded the world. I can do 3 breaths. As Tao Master Blue Dream spoke, he walked into the blue light. At this instant, the surrounding blue light shot toward the sovereign. 3 rays of blue light flew out toward Yun Yifeng and Tang Shan, pulling them into the blue light. The last ray of light wrapped around Tuo Sen and also pulled him into the blue light. The 4 of them all fused with the blue light. The moment they disappeared into the blue light, they turned into 4 runes and flew toward the sovereign. The sovereign's expression changed. This all happened in an instant. The 4 runes were flying toward the sovereign an instant after Blue Dream appeared. The sovereign could not avoid this. This was, after all, formed by Blue Dream's full cultivation. Although he hadn't entered arcane tribulent, he could battle against arcane tribulent cultivators. With him as the lead, and the help of the other three, these 4 runes broke through all barriers and landed on the sovereign's body. The moment the 4 runes landed, the sovereign staggered and was surrounded by blue light that sealed his whole body. Although his movements were sealed, he still had a lot of power. The moment the blue light surrounded him, a golden light covered his body. From a distance, the sovereign looked completely golden. This golden shield can protect him from serious injuries for a few breaths after he was sealed. The first breath of the 3 breaths. Wang Lin didn't hesitate. The moment the sovereign was sealed by the blue light, he walked forward and appeared before the sovereign. He raised his right hand and the ghostly sail appeared. Wang Lin's finger penetrated the blue light and landed between the eyebrows of the sovereign. Dream Dao. As Wang Lin's voice echoed, the second breath arrived. The dream Dao and the ghostly face fused and rushed into the sovereign. They didn't injure the sovereign at all but fused with his soul. Borrowing the dream Dao, Wang Lin entered the memories of the sovereign, and a connection formed. Wang Lin didn't try to change the sovereign's memory, but pointed at the mountain surrounded by the black fog. I sacrificed this soul to Yi Si. Wang Lin knew that he was no match for the sovereign, but he could borrow a knife to kill, and that knife was Yi Si. As his words echoed, the third breath arrived. The fog around the mountain churned and let out a heaven-shattering roar. At the same time, the sovereign's soul started disappearing from his body rapidly as if it was being devoured. The sovereign's eyes struggled, and he let out a violent roar as his body trembled. The 3 breaths passed, and the 4 seals on his body immediately dissipated. When the 4 seals disappeared, Dao Master Blue Dream, Yun Yifeng, Tangshan, and Tuo Sen appeared from the surrounding blue light. Miserable screams echoed as the sovereign escaped from Dao Master Blue Dream's seal. He held his head as he rapidly retreated. The miserable cries shook people's hearts. The sovereign's soul was rapidly dissipating and was being sacrificed. When Dao Master Blue Dream and company saw this, their pupils shrank. They were in shock. Wang Lin coughed out blood and retreated more than 1,000 feet. He looked at the sovereign who was screaming in the sky, and his eyes revealed a cruel and cold gaze. At this moment, the sovereign's eyes were bloodshot. The intense pain made him crazy as he looked at Wang Lin and charged at him as if he had gone crazy. It is you who made me suffer so much pain. I am going to kill you, the sovereign roared as he rushed at Wang Lin. His consciousness was blurry, and the only thought in his mind was kill Wang Lin. Yi Si puppet, I have sacrificed enough souls. I summon you! Wang Lin retreated without even wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth. As the sovereign closed in, Wang Lin's hands formed a seal and he let out a roar. The moment his words echoed, the mountain in the distance collapsed and the fog rushed toward Wang Lin. It was very fast, instantly shrouding Wang Lin. It even shrouded the sovereign that had charged over. It covered everyone's gazes. Then 2 roars came from inside the fog. One was from the sovereign. It was filled with endless pain. The other was filled with endless killing intent. The roars continued to echo inside the black fog. Aside from the people within the fog, no one knew what was happening inside. They could only hear the sovereign's roars become even more miserable. A moment later, the fog churned violently and the sovereign was thrown out. He landed on the ground with his eyes closed, and he was motionless. Blue Dream and company carefully looked at the black fog around Wang Lin. They saw the fog slowly condense to reveal Wang Lin. This fog was still gathering. It wasn't gathering in Wang Lin, but to his right. There was a shadow squatting there. When all the fog condensed, the shadow became clear to everyone. Tangshan's face immediately turned pale, and he immediately retreated several steps. Even Yun Yifeng gasped, his eyes filled with fear. Dao Master Blue Dream and Tuo Sen were better, but their hearts trembled when they saw the shadow. It was a dwarf with purple skin. He was naked as he crouched there. There was no hair on his head, and his body was very thin. His tongue stuck out 7 feet and hung there, swaying. His eyes were dark, looking as if they could absorb the light around him, making his figure distort slightly. An indescribable ferocity was spreading out from his body. This puppet was like an evil ghost that had climbed out of hell itself. Although it was only squatting there, it gave everyone a huge pressure in their hearts. The surroundings were silent. Only the demon-like dwarf's breathing could be heard. Wang Lin looked calm, but his heart was also shocked. Inside the fog, he had seen the Yisi puppet's crazed battle against the sovereign. It took a long time for Wang Lin to suppress the trembling in his heart. He knew that the connection he had with the puppet wasn't strong, and controlling it was difficult. If he wanted full control, he would have to keep killing and sacrificing souls to it. This thing is somewhat different from the memory of the third soul according to the memory, once it appears. It should have the power of a peak early-stage void tribulant cultivator who has gone through all 9 arcane tribulants. However, although the puppet is still very strong, it can reach the power of a real void tribulant cultivator. It is equal to someone who has gone through several arcane tribulants. Although Wang Lin had doubts in his heart, he couldn't find an answer. In the distance, Xuanluo had been looking at the Yisi puppet since it appeared. He recognized what it was. I have already felt aura before. It is indeed a puppet spirit, and it has transformed twice. The 7-colored celestial sovereign is indeed vicious. Xuanluo shook his head and sighed. Wang Lin took a deep breath and walked toward the unconscious sovereign. The dwarf silently followed. Its body changed between corporeal and fog. Wang Lin looked at the unconscious sovereign and felt complicated. The sovereign after a long time, Wang Lin waved his sleeve and put the sovereign inside his storage space. You still have half of your soul left, but I won't kill you. You were once the madman's slave. I'll let him decide your fate once he awakens. I forgot to say, the latest 3 chapters are all 4,000-word major chapters. Is Leo that kind? So this is the moon god. Is it the like button for the video? Do you all also start the video? Chapter 177 Rand's Poison King Cauldron. TL Void. Metal Max. TLC PD. Ed. Demon Killer Pity. Metal Max. Wang Lin's eyes flashed as he stared at the black stone bridge for a long while. These 3 days he had been observing the stone bridge, and up until now, he hadn't even stepped on it. This dusky world, aside from the stone bridge, it was completely desolate and empty. Wang Lin was silent for a while before waving his right hand backwards. Immediately, the 42 hurricanes suddenly scattered, and all of them stopped rotating, and turned into approximately 10,000 small beasts, spectacularly spreading around into all directions. Wang Lin closed his eyes, and began perceiving the small beasts through the second devil. The large number of small beasts that had just dispersed flew out in every direction. Slowly, he just listened to the bursts of sharp roars that had reached a far distance and were now barely audible. After a long period of time, he suddenly opened both his eyes and leapt out towards the northwest direction. Along with him flew the numerous small beasts which had drawn close to him from all directions. They gathered behind him and formed into a hurricane. Not long after, Wang Lin stopped. As he came down, in front of him appeared a 300-feet-high stone tablet. The stone tablet was slightly red in color and was emitting traces of monstrously evil QI. A few small beasts had laid down prone on the stone tablet, while flapping their wings, emitting a buzzing sound. After Wang Lin came to see, these small beasts immediately flew towards him and integrated into the hurricane. Wang Lin, looking at the stone tablet, could see written on top of it 4 big words: Road of No Returns. TL note, actually Chinese required only 3 characters, which usually means that it's a path towards death, no regrets or impossible to return. These 4 words also overflowed with a kind of an aftertaste of a veteran's aura. Wang Lin stared at the words for a bit, when suddenly his vision moved towards the bottom right of the stone tablet, and after closely looking at it with rapt attention, he waved his right hand. Suddenly, a strong wind swept, and bursts of dust flew upwards, and on the bottom right corner of the stone tablet, a row of small characters appeared. I passed through the earth domain, subdued the beast overlord, and entered this road of no returns. This place is much more interesting, so leaving a message for predestined friends who come here. Remember to carefully ponder the 2 engraved words of no returns. Wang Lin looked calm outwards, but actually he had been quite startled. These small words were similar to the words that he had seen when he had entered that black tower in the beginning of Earth Domain. Obviously, they had been written by the same person. Thinking of the meaning hidden between the words and lines while looking at it, from the Earth Domain, it can be seen that this person was extremely simple and straightforward. Even that formidable heavenly hurricane beast overlord was subdued by him. But then, Wang Lin began to have second thoughts as he narrowed his pupils. If what this person said was true, then how could the beast overlord return to the earth domain? The words of this person were also mostly false. After all, meaning of the words to subdue is really self-evident, while taking only one word indicates a meaning that is somewhat close. Teal note, this really needs to be explained better. But I think what the author is trying to say is the difference in wordplay, as most Chinese words are made by two letters. Example, washing machine, washing machine. Certainly it was possible that this person really did subdue the beast overlord, but over the innumerable years, the earth domain gave birth to a new one. Whichever was true or false, Wang Lin didn't have the interest to thoroughly distinguish, as his eyes once again fell onto the four words road of no returns once more, while he remained silent. After a long time he flew towards the black stone bridge, while the hurricanes closely followed behind him. Returning to the stone bridge, Wang Lin patted his storage bag, and the devil Shu Li Guo drilled out immediately. It enviously stared at the hurricanes, while muttering to himself, "Isn't it just some other little brats? What's so great about them? I will never allow some tiny brats follow me later." Wang Lin pointed towards the stone bridge. The devil Shu Li Guo immediately suppressed his thoughts. This time he was not as lippy-like in the past. Instead, he was lively and full of energy. As he was feeling proud of himself, he looked at the hurricane with slanting eyes and thought in his heart, "Can't you see? This evil master still prefers me, otherwise why else would he not let the second to come and take care of this thing?" He looked at Wang Lin, while his face reflected an expression of currying favor, and without saying anything further, he flew towards the stone bridge. After flying out very far, he did not encounter any danger, and after turning a few circles, flew back. Wang Lin frowned slightly, while he stretched out his right hand, and immediately from inside the hurricane, a small beast flew out. This small beast lay prone in the center of Wang Lin's palm, while motionlessly staring tightly at Wang Lin. Wang Lin flicked his right hand. The small beast immediately flew towards the direction of the black stone bridge. He had barely flown out 3 paces when the small beast stopped. Wang Lin's look became solemn as he stared steadily at the small beast. The small beast's entire body could be seen trembling. While it slowly turned around, its eyes revealed a fearful expression, while on the stone bridge below it, immediately a vortex emerged. And all of a sudden this small beast was swallowed down, before returning to normal. Wang Lin remained silent for a bit. By now he had already realized that passing through this road of no returns is the only way in this place. After muttering to himself for a bit, he once again pushed forward a few small beasts to fly towards the stone bridge, but the end result was the same. The only thing Wang Lin could notice was that if several small beasts fly together, then the abnormal change would occur for only the first one. And as for the rest of the small beasts, the accident would happen in turns, and so on. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, as he thought from the bottom of his heart. No returns, no returns. The idea is that as long as one has taken a step forward, then cannot return back. He remained silent for a bit, and didn't take any action rashly. Instead, he sat down cross-legged outside the stone bridge, and pulling out 2 storage bags from his bosom, amongst which one had a black gold thread. This he had stolen from that mysterious corpse inside the War Shrine Shendao Technique Portrayal Mansion. Unfortunately, this storage bag possessed the strength to prevent Wang Lin's divine consciousness from exploring inside, so he couldn't open it. Wang Lin knew that the opposite party has its divine consciousness inside it, and only after erasing it would it be possible to open it. However, this divine consciousness was very strong, as Wang Lin tried feeling it out several times before giving up. However, he wrapped his own divine consciousness above it, preventing this divine consciousness to come in contact with the outside world. Thus, this divine consciousness owner would not be able to get any reaction from it. Although Wang Lin found it very difficult to erase the divine consciousness, but as far as concealing it under his control was concerned, with his G-realm divine consciousness, he was able to succeed in it. The other storage bag was precisely the one that he had taken from Hunchback Meng's possession. The divine consciousness on it had already thoroughly disappeared. From this it could be seen that Hunchback Meng had certainly died. Wang Lin sneered inwardly. As he opened it to see, his eyes couldn't help but brighten. It was worthy of a cultivator at spirit-forming stage who had been accumulating for several millenniums, kept inside the storage bag. Counting just the Lingxi, there are no less than 300,000 which were piled up like a mountain. Moreover, These lingxi were all of high grade. What made Wang Lin's eyes shine brightly was that stored quietly within it were two shining diamond-shaped crystal stones. These were actually the rarest of them all, the highest quality lingxi. Wang Lin was palpitating with eagerness. Just these two best quality lingxi were worth having taken all this risk to plunder. Apart from these, there were several bottles and jars. As for magic weapons, there was only the two fragments of the small green cauldron, and aside from that, there was no other magic weapon. Wang Lin pondered a bit. He immediately understood that Hunchback Meng had been surrounded for a long time, and certainly would have run out of magic weapons a long time ago. In fact, he had guessed correctly. Originally, the number of magic weapons that Hunchback Meng possessed were not few, and all of them were Yuan Ying level or higher. However, due to continuously rushing out of Black Pagodas repeatedly, it had caused him to lose his magic weapons in great quantities to the point of exhaustion. In fact, he didn't even hesitate to use more than 10 spirit beast substitutes to try and break out of the encirclement, while throwing out a lot of magic weapons. Even his cherished magic weapon had exploded, which enabled him to try and cut a desperate bloody path through, but eventually he still failed. It is exactly because of this that aside from the green cauldron, he had no other magic weapons inside his storage bag. In addition to these, his storage bag also had quite a lot of jade talismans inside. Wang Lin took them out one by one and pressed them to his forehead to examine. The more he saw, the more joyous his face became. Most of these jade talismans were introductions to all kinds of pill refining. Introductions to device refining and spirit beasts were also briefly recorded. These things had a great utility at present for Wang Lin. At least it wouldn't be like in the past where even seeing a precious material, he would have been forced to not know what to do. Moreover, Hunchback Meng's speciality was poison pill refining. The jade talismans in his storage bag had detailed introduction in this regard. Wang Lin looked at them for a long time. He was able to gain insights in his mind, more than several hundred times than before. Aside from these, amongst them there was a dark green jade talisman that attracted Wang Lin's attention. In this jade talisman there was a practice method. This practice method only had a one-word name. It was called Abyss. Tonot. No relation to Situnan's technique Abyssal Ascension. Tentatively named Abyss, this abyss definitely contained detailed descriptions of divine powers which could startle the heaven and earth, and making even gods and demons cry. In order to become a poison Taoist, there are 9 layers. According to the practice method, once practiced up to the 6th layer, then even if someone had the cultivation of the spirit-forming stage, he would find it difficult to escape from being captured by this poison. Only this cultivation method is extremely overbearing. If one practices, then one must have a tolerance beyond an average person. To stimulate inside one's body various types of poisons, and thus attain poisoned body state. Moreover, only if one is able to cultivate up to the 9th layer, the body would be restored to its true state, as the body would discharge the toxins and become capable of cultivating abyss poison. Thereby regaining one's appearance. There can be no cultivation before that, while all kinds of variations can emerge in the body, and the most distinct amongst them is the sprouting of pustules. Wang Lin, after looking at it, remained silent for a bit before he gave up on the idea of practicing this cultivation method. Hunchback Meng's whole body smelled, which certainly was a result of practicing this cultivation method. Wang Lin, although does not care about his mortal body, but inside the jade strip there was stated that with the cultivation becoming deeper and the more time it is cultivated, with the influx of poison, it is possible that the poison gas may enter the sea of consciousness. And it is possible for one to lose one's consciousness and become a living corpse who only knows how to kill. This was his real cause for finally giving up on cultivating it. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, although he couldn't cultivate this practice method. But amongst it are included several techniques which, if coordinated with poison, can become worthwhile to use. As for refining poison, Hunchback Meng's whole life worth of experiences were contained in the jade talisman, and Wang Lin, after carefully looking at it again, felt quite moved from the bottom of his heart. He took out one of those bottles from the storage bag, and identified them in accordance to the jade strip one by one. Almost all of them were poisons, and only one of the jade bottles contained the antidote which Wang Lin had taken. This sort of antidote, according to what Wang Lin had seen in the jade talisman, can be classified as medium grade, and only with taking a mild kind of poison, it can achieve the maximum antitoxin effect. Wang Lin took out everything in the storage bag, and put all of the things one by one in his own storage bag. Throwing Hunchback Meng's storage bag onto the ground, then catching and holding on to one thing, his expressions became solemn. This thing was precisely the Hunchback Meng's cherished magic weapon, the green small cauldron. Although this cauldron had broken into two, but it was still sending out boundless spiritual force, but this spiritual force was filled with toxins. Especially that green fog which could extinguish the divine consciousness, which made Wang Lin act extremely careful while examining it. He knew that if something were to be said to be precious inside the Hunchback Meng's storage bag, then aside from the jade talisman and the best quality lingxi, then it would absolutely be this green cauldron. After all, this cauldron is Hunchback Meng's spirit-forming stage most cherished weapon, which was refined through his body's inner fire for several thousand years. Just a moment ago, he had seen the jade talisman which introduced the green small cauldron. When refining this, one must have cultivated to the second layer of the abyss. It also requires that there must be poison cultivated in one's body to deter the poison of the treasure. This small cauldron is actually a replica of the famous legendary divine treasure Medicine King Cauldron. Although it is a replica, but compared to the real Medicine King Cauldron, the material is not bad. The difference arises from the fact that Medicine King Cauldron has absorbed the essence of several tens of thousands of Ling Qi plants. This cauldron would actually be the most precious treasure of a third-ranked Shuzhen country. Hunchback Meng, after exhausting several hundred years' worth of effort, by paying respect to and entering a mountain sect, eventually utilizing his innate talent to finally become the head disciple. He later took this opportunity to take the cauldron, kill the teacher, and run into the Sea of Devils, making this cauldron into his most treasured magic weapon. Stubbornly chasing after Medicine King Cauldron, giving his life to refine the Medicine King Cauldron, if he had not died, then it seemed that with his cultivation of abyss to the 9th layer. Although this cauldron could not compare with the legendary divine treasure Medicine King Cauldron, but it wouldn't be much far from it either, and may be called a genuine Poison King Cauldron. Teal note. Author uses wordplay to signify the transition because Medicine-S character can also be read as to mean poison. Unfortunately, before he could finish mastering it, he died, as fate would have it. This cauldron coincidentally fell into the hands of Wang Lin. Teal note. Sometimes I feel like I imagine wordplays where there are none, but another coincidence is that the king in the Medicine King Cauldron has the pinyin Wang, which is the same, except one is used as surname. The description regarding this cauldron provided in the jade talisman reverberated in Wang Lin's mind, while he remained silent for a moment. A treasure of this grade, if he had decided to cultivate abyss, then after refining to a certain degree would have swallowed this into a foundation magic weapon, but unfortunately, now Wang Lin had determined to not cultivate abyss, and thus this green cauldron was of no good. This grade of treasure, but unable to use, Wang Lin wasn't resigned to it, but to go through so many complications isn't it precisely to enable him to become strong. Although he has not yet arrived at the Yuan Ying stage, and this cauldron doesn't increase the success rate of attaining Yuan Ying. But if he were to encounter danger, and if he is able to use this green cauldron, then his chances of survival would certainly rise greatly. Wang Lin's face was like the gloomy darkness. He looked up at the black stone bridge as his eyes flashed. Without saying anything further, he spit out glittering light from his mouth. The glittering light flying sword immediately flew around in circles and began floating in front of him, emitting a dense cold aura. Wang Lin looked at the flying sword. His face revealed some hesitation, but afterwards he clenched his teeth and without saying anything further slapped it with a big hand. The flying sword immediately trembled and letting out a sword cry. On its sword blade emerged a trace of blood-red thread. These fine threads are exactly what Wang Lin and Zhao country had used for blood refining and coagulated into essence blood, although after his flying sword along with his flesh had been broken together. But the blood refining technique is extremely overbearing and had become engraved onto the sword spirit. This sword spirit is actually invisible and a non-divine object, but staying within Wang Lin's sea of consciousness for many years, experiencing along with him the development to becoming a soul devourer. This sword spirit had given birth to a trace of spirit consciousness, and it was this that enabled it to remain intact. Until the time, Wang Lin using War Shrine's object refining technique had again refined for its use a sword embryo this flying sword finally completed the transfer of the sword spirit. It can be said that this flying sword was responsible for establishing the illustrious exploits of Wang Lin, and countless people died under it over time. The murderous aura that had accumulated within the sword spirit had already become a lethal weapon. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a solemn expression as he raised with his right hand in the air the sword blade, moving it slowly, following which he waved his right hand. And the blood-red threads on the sword began glowing, and after issuing a caca sound, the flying sword actually broke down into fragments, fell down onto the ground. In the air, there was only the blood silk thread left floating amongst it, an illusory sword image, which was faintly discernible. Wang Lin took a deep breath and patted his storage bag. The reactor flew out. He pointed at the green cauldron. Immediately, the two halves of the green tripod flew into the reactor. The instant they entered, the green fog mist immediately wrapped around the reactor and began issuing bursts of ZZ sounds. A cold aura flashed in Wang Lin's eyes as he constantly moved his hands to form various hand seals through the green fog seal onto the reactor furnace. The body of the furnace immediately started revolving slowly. Its speed of revolving gradually got quicker and quicker. The green fog mist wrapped around it was spurred by it, causing it to form a green vortex. Wang Lin, with a call, the fragments of the glittering sword lying on the ground, all flew onto his palms. He stared at the rapidly revolving reactor for a long time, after which he flung his right hand fiercely, and a fragment turning into glittering light flashed past, and accurately entered the reactor furnace, which was rotating at high speed. The instant it entered, the fragment turned into liquid and was blended inside the furnace. Wang Lin continued to stare and flung his right hand again and again, and within an hour he had thrown inside all the fragments. At this time, he slowly let out a breath, while both his hands let out Ling Q that struck against the reactor furnace. At this moment, the reactor furnace's speed of rotation had immediately and quickly doubled. Only a group of rotating objects could be seen, while the insides were unclear. As for the green vortex above it, at first glance it would seem to be standing still, but if one looks closely, then one would find that it is turning too fast, creating the illusion. Still not enough, Wang Lin muttered to himself. He had looked with his divine consciousness and could clearly see that the temperature inside the reactor furnace was not high enough for the green cauldron, as this green cauldron had turned only slightly red in color but had not melted. Wang Lin's eyes flashed as he suddenly remembered something. Immediately a number of things flew out from the storage bag, and looking at all with barely a glance, he grabbed one thing and tossed it accurately into the reactor furnace. The instant that this thing fell in, a mass of cyan flames soared out suddenly. The speed of the reactor remained the same, but the temperature within it had suddenly been doubled. The green cauldron had already thoroughly turned into red color. However, there were still no signs of melting. Just now, the thing that Wang Lin had thrown in was a special refining material of the war shrine. It was called the bloodstone, and after being catalyzed by spiritual force, it can produce high temperature. Teal note, present in the raws. This bloodstone, if the quantity were to become excessive, then not only will it not increase the temperature, on the contrary, it will immediately reduce the heat, and therefore, Wang Lin, after throwing out a few pieces, immediately stowed it away. At this point, the temperature of the reactor had already reached frightening levels, but the green cauldron had only turned red, but did not melt. Wang Lin pondered a bit, then threw out in succession, purple soaring moon, fragments of floral stones, blue moon wood, and more than 10% of other war shrine refining materials. After these things one by one were put into the reactor by him, a multicolored smoke explosion emerged. Its shape was similar to an illusory cauldron. After this illusory cauldron-shaped smoke appeared, it immediately dispersed the vortex of green fog, following which it unexpectedly began emitting in a strange state. And together with the green mist spreading quickly, all of it was retracted quickly back into the reactor. At this moment, the reactor sent out bursts of thunderous roars. Gradually, small hints of fractures could be seen emerging. Wang Lin, holding his breath, stared with rapt attention and saw that the two halves of the green cauldron had already started to melt, only the speed was too slow, and if this progress continues, then it is very possible for the reactor to get disrupted before it is melted completely. Wang Lin's eyes flashed. While he raised his right hand, a lump of blue flame floated upon the palm of his hand. The moment this flame emerged, the ambient decreased immediately, and it was the abyssal ice flame that had resulted from him cultivating the abyssal ascension technique to great completion. This ice flame had already fused with Wang Lin's gold dan, and it may be said to be endless, but if used excessively, then it would still cause injury to his gold dan. Therefore, until now he had just used it in a manner similar to an assassin's rapier, and generally did not use it casually. At this time, seeing that the reactor unable to withstand, and continuing to break, Wang Lin, without saying anything further, sent out his right hand forward, the ice flame flying out immediately. Quickly ran into the reactor furnace. Wang Lin's facial expression showed intense concentration, as he carefully controlled the ice flame to slowly approach, in particular with the spiritual force controlling. There mustn't appear even the slightest bit of fluctuation, and must stably maintain the low temperature of the ice flame. At this instant, the cracks on the reactor suddenly increased, but without waiting for the spread further, they were immediately covered with the ice flame, which condensed on it immediately. Barely a few breaths later, Wang Lin was already sweating profusely. This was a risk that he had taken. If he was able to control it good, then it would help in solidly repairing the reactor furnace. If a mistake happens, then the cracks in the reactor could intensify. At this time, due to the ice flame's reinforcement, the situation of fragmenting had eased, but if the low temperature of the ice flame was not limited, then the green cauldron melting in the reactor furnace could definitely suffer fatal consequences under its influence. Therefore, Wang Lin was extra careful at this time. With all his strength was limiting the temperature of the ice flame for the reinforcement of the reactor furnace, and balancing it with not influencing the melting of the green cauldron. Slowly, the green cauldron gradually melted. During this time, Wang Lin didn't dare to be careless. After an unknown amount of time, the green cauldron finally melted completely and became a dark green liquid, spreading and oozing inside the reactor. Wang Lin breathed out deeply, moving his right hand into mudra, brought out spirit light, and imprinted it onto the reactor. Immediately the reactor furnace shook and stopped revolving. Wang Lin grasped out with a big hand, as the green liquid in the reactor furnace began to flutter. In this spread out liquid, there was an illusory image of a small cauldron, faintly discernible. Wang Lin knew that this was the Poison King Cauldron's cauldron spirit, so without saying anything further, he raised his right hand into the air in a beckoning motion. The floating sword spirit floating in the air immediately flew out and fused into the green liquid. At this moment, the cauldron spirit moved immediately and similarly began fusing. Wang Lin's eyes gained a solemn expression, as these were two different spirit bodies and contrary to Wang Lin's expectations, did not attack each other to swallow each other. Rather, it appeared that a little while later, the cauldron spirit letting out bursts of green aura immediately drilled into the flying sword's sword spirit. The two rapidly fused together, thus Wang Lin breathed a sigh of relief, while he pointed out with both of his hands, and immediately the liquid began to slowly condense. In accordance to Wang Lin's thoughts, it turned into a 6-inch long dark green short sword. On both sides of the sword blade, 2 rows of densely packed thorns emerged, while bursts of green aura flashed from the sword thorns, which looked quite amazing. At this time, the flying sword had thoroughly congealed its form. Its entire body was dark green. Within it was concealed the Poison King Cauldron's poison, if someone were to be touched by it. Then even if does not die under the sword, then would definitely perish from the poisoning. At this time, with this flying sword, even a Yuan Ying stage cultivator stabbed in a sneak attack by Wang Lin, then would find it difficult to escape death. After all, inside of it is contained the poison of Hunchback Meng's Poison King Cauldron. However, after it condensed, Wang Lin also didn't dare to swallow it, for keeping it in his abdomen, using the gold dan to refine it. Even when using it, he would have to pay extreme attention. Otherwise, if he were to be self-stabbed, then he certainly wouldn't be unable to escape death. This Poison King Cauldron's poison fundamentally doesn't have any antidotes. Apart from Hunchback Meng, no others could cure the poison. Wang Lin was immensely proud, especially of those sharp thorns on the flying sword. This was his killing weapon, needed only one's will to use it. Those sharp thorns could easily be ejected. People wouldn't be able to defend against it effectively. It's been a long time since wishing for likes on the VIDEO. The little pig wishing for the like button for the VIDEO support. You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Wang Lin felt no joy in taking the sovereign's soul. Instead, he felt somewhat sad. Wang Lin had heard the sovereign's name when he was only at the second step, and then, once he had gone to the ancient star system, they had encountered each other many times. This person could be considered the leader of a generation, but his life had been sad. He was but a slave to the madman. Then, after the madman had gone missing, he had been forced to worship the seven-colored Taoist as his teacher, and listen to the seven-colored Taoist's commands. Now he had half his soul taken by Wang Lin, and had fallen into such a state. All of this was very similar to how the sovereign had gathered the third-step cultivators of the outer realm to attack the Lord of the Sealed Realm, until the Lord of the Sealed Realm was only a sliver of a soul inside. The heaven-defying bead. It was like a reincarnation cycle. The killer had been killed. Wang Lin let out a sigh and clasped his hands at Tao Master Blue Dream and company. Many thanks for this. Tao Master Blue Dream's gaze swept past the dwarf and looked at Wang Lin. He slowly said, I can help you much. But no matter what happens, I'll do my best. This is my promise to you. His tone on the last two words was quite heavy. Tu-Si or Tuo-Sen returned to the size of a normal person, and calmly said, You have returned my inheritance to me and allowed my flowing ink transformation divine technique to be complete. I'll help you to return the favor. Wang Lin could not tell if the person was Tuo-Sen or Tu-Si, but he vaguely understood what had happened to this person. As for Yun Yifeng, he smiled bitterly and didn't respond to Wang Lin's thanks. He had lost, so he must do to listening to Wang Lin's orders. He still had courage, so even though there was no more oath blood, he wouldn't take back his words. Wang Lin looked at the third concubine, Tang Shan, and softly said, I helped you leave this place and you helped me fight the sovereign, so your debt is cleared. You don't have to take this matter to heart anymore in the future. Tang Shan silently pondered for a while and nodded. In the distance, the mountain the Yisi puppet came from collapsed and revealed a hole. Slivers of ancient Dao aura spread out. This was the entrance to the last layer. Once Wang Lin entered, he could reach the place where Yi Mo's heart was located. However, just at this moment, ripples echoed in the sky. In the distance, several rays of light closed in, and a powerful divine sense spread out. This change attracted Wang Lin's attention. He looked up at the sky, and his expression slowly became gloomy. Old Ghost Zhan had caught up. You can go down. This old man has promised to help you, so I'll keep doing so. Tao Master Blue Dream let out a sigh and blue light spread across his body. He looked at the sky with battle intent in his eyes. Tuo-Sen silently pondered and looked at Wang Lin. He didn't speak, but popping sounds echoed inside his body. He looked up and clenched his hands. Uncle Ma will act too and help you delay long enough. Yun Yifeng revealed a bitter smile as he took out a large handful of pills to devour. He waved his right hand and his body gave off the light of the 5 elements. A suit of armor slowly began to appear. Tang Shan waved her right hand without speaking. 7 golden doors appeared around everyone here. She took a deep breath and looked up at the sky. Wang Lin opened his mouth, but he didn't know what to say. He couldn't control the Yisi puppet unless he was here, and it had to follow him. Therefore, if he wasn't here, the Yisi puppet would have no effect. Wang Lin bowed deeply at everyone. He knew that this was not the time for words. He had to obtain the last of Yi Mo's inheritance aside from the left eye. Then leave this 4th flower and find the real door in the 5th flower. However, the condition was that it had to be done before old Ghost John caught up, but he was already closing in. Wang Lin took a deep breath and no longer hesitated. He charged toward the collapsed mountain. After he disappeared, the sky rumbled and old Ghost John's figure appeared in the air. 7 colored lights surrounded his body. This was because he had devoured the 7-colored Taoist. Although the 2 souls hadn't fused, the benefits to him were great. This allowed him to use even more of his cultivation. He was also different from the 7-colored Taoist. He was the 7-colored celestial sovereign's soul and old Ghost John. Old Ghost John already had a high cultivation level. Then he obtained the 7-colored celestial sovereign's Tao. Now that he had devoured the 7-colored Taoist, his cultivation level was infinitely close to that of the 7-colored celestial sovereign of the past. You real and scram for this old man. Old Ghost John's voice rumbled and spread through the layer. The earth collapsed, and the sky was torn open. In the last layer of the ancient tomb, Wang Lin appeared. The moment he appeared, he vaguely heard the sound of a heart beating. This sound entered his mind, but didn't cause his heart to beat with it. Instead, it caused his heart to become chaotic, as if there were two different beats echoing in his ears. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he looked around. This last layer had no earth or sky. There were only blood vessel-like things that were thousands of feet thick. Every time he heard that heartbeat, these blood vessels would all move. In Wang Lin's divine sense, he clearly saw a giant heart where all the blood vessels connected to. Every time the heart beat, Wang Lin felt a stab of pain in his chest. It was like his heart was going to collapse. Everything here was somewhat different from what he had seen when he first obtained the inheritance, but the general idea was the same. After all, back then, he had only caught a vague glimpse of this place, and this was the first time he had entered this place. Wang Lin knew time was of the essence. He didn't know how long Blue Dream and company above could delay old Ghost John. Every breath he delayed could mean old Ghost John catching up. Right now, he couldn't carefully observe behind him. He had to slowly move forward. He traveled at his fastest speed as he moved between the blood vessels. Fortunately, there were no beasts here. Wang Lin didn't encounter any obstacle as he traversed endless distances. However, the heart seemed to be able to detect Wang Lin arriving, and it was beating even faster. The beats from the heart were off sync with Wang Lin's own heartbeat. This caused Wang Lin's face to turn pale, and created an unbearable pain in his chest. The closer he got to the heart, the stronger the feeling became. In the end, the heartbeats were like roaring thunder. The sound was like a needle was drilling into Wang Lin's heart. Words could not describe the pain. However, this strange change had no effect on the Yeezy puppet following Wang Lin. It still had its long tongue out, and its gaze became even more intense. There was a sense of irritation coming from it. Although his pain was intense, Wang Lin didn't stop at all. He moved like the wind. The pain almost reached the point of driving him insane when he arrived at the center of this layer. He spotted the giant heart and saw the countless blood vessels connected to it extending in all directions. The blood vessels moved along with the heartbeats. Upon arriving here, Wang Lin's heartbeat became even more distinct with the giant heart. He coughed out a mouthful of blood. This was a sign that his heart was going to explode. Inside Wang Lin's body, all the blood vessels were swollen, and his blood flow was sometimes fast and sometimes slow. Along with this erratic heartbeat, these were all signs that his heart was going to explode. This was not a spell, ability, or Dao spell. It was just that this heartbeat was extremely lethal. Even Wang Lin's ancient Dao body could not resist it unless he didn't have a heart. Wang Lin's face was deathly pale, and his right hand clenched his chest. He could feel his heart's erratic heartbeats, and the vibrations even caused his hand to tremble. Wang Lin staggered as he clenched his teeth and let out a roar. He coughed out blood and arrived next to the Hurge heart. His body moved with the beating heart. Wang Lin suppressed the pain and sat down on the heart. He closed his eyes and focused his mind on his heart. Yimo, I have inherited your origin soul, your bloodline, and your arms. I am here to inherit your heart to make this inheritance complete. If you agree, then stop this disorderly heartbeat and be in sync with me. Wang Lin's divine sense spread into the heart. However, just as his divine sense spread out, the heart began to beat even faster and more violently. It didn't want to be in sync with Wang Lin at all, and it produced a powerful rejection force. I have gone through most of the 3 trials' 7 calamities and won the approval of the ancient ancestor. I have obtained more than half of your inheritances, and now only the heart remains. I know you re unwilling, but you are already dead. You re already dead, so give me your inheritance and I'll complete your last wishes. I'll take care of your relatives on the immortal astral continent and keep them safe. You battled the 7-colored celestial sovereign and lost. I, Wang Lin, will battle against the soul of the 7-colored celestial sovereign. Win or lose, I'll continue that battle from back then. The heart below Wang Lin suddenly stopped and showed signs of calming down. However, it slowly began to beat violently once more. At the same time, a miserable divine sense message filled with a monstrous resentment rushed into Wang Lin's mind. Return my left eye to me. Wang Lin suddenly opened his eyes and said, "I'll help you find your left eye. This is my promise to you." When he said this, the heart below him no longer beat off sync with his own. It chose to beat in sync with Wang Lin instead. A powerful ancient Dao aura suddenly appeared and rushed into Wang Lin's body as the heartbeat synced with his own. As the aura rushed into Wang Lin, his clothes rapidly fluttered as if there was a powerful wind hitting him. The 8 ancient god stars between his eyebrows rotated rapidly and showed signs of forming a 9th star. The year of the dragon is approaching. Leo's year is coming fast, fervently shouting for the like button for the video, wishing to be drowned in happiness by the likes for the video. The powerful aura that had rushed into Wang Lin from the heart below rumbled inside his body like thunder. It washed over him and made him feel like he was inside a violent storm. The stars of the 3 clans rotated rapidly and all showed signs of reaching 9 stars. The large heart's heartbeat beat along with Wang Lin's heartbeat. Wang Lin even had the illusion that this giant heart was his heart. The giant heart followed the beat of his own heart. This feeling became stronger and stronger. In the end, Wang Lin could not hear anything but the beating of the hearts. This sound made Wang Lin felt very comfortable. The warm feeling also caused the stabbing pain in his heart to slowly dissipate. A sense of enlightenment entered Wang Lin's mind. This insight came from the heartbeats. In the last layer of the ancient tomb, Wang Lin felt like his heart was being stabbed and was about to explode. Wang Lin vaguely grasped this method of attacking, which wasn't a spell, ability, or Dao, as he calmed down. To affect the heartbeat of others with your own, and change the rhythm of their heartbeats until their heart collapses or make their heartbeat beat in sync with yours to take control and then manipulate it to produce letha, L-force. These methods are very different to defend against. Perhaps I can borrow this insight to create another spell that belongs to me. Wang Lin opened his eyes. They were shining brightly. As he absorbed the aura from the heart, he deduced the feasibility of this idea. The heartbeat is like a sound, but this sound needs some help to spread out. My thunder origin can produce loud rumbles and obtain similar effects. If I condense my thunder essence in my heart to help my heartbeat spread out from the body, Wang Lin's eyes lit up. It still requires my dream Dao's help. The sound from my heartbeat and the dream Dao will enter at the same time. It will cause illusions to appear as their heartbeat changes, and certain effects could be achieved. Wang Lin's eyes became even brighter. If it is combined with my ethereal fire, then once the heartbeat causes an irritation in their heart, the ethereal fire would be able to burn. Wang Lin closed his eyes and continued to deduce the possibilities. Yisi Puppet was sitting behind him, and its gaze became even more violent. It began to let out subconscious howls. Just as Wang Lin's heart and Yi Mo's heart were fusing and Wang Lin was comprehending the new spell, the second to last layer of the ancient tomb rumbled. At this moment, a vicious battle was in progress. There was a thunderous bang loud enough to make it feel as if the world was being torn apart. A gust of wind threw Tang Feng into the sky, and she fell onto the collapsed earth. A large amount of dust was kicked into the air. Tang Feng's face was pale as she struggled to get up. Blood was flowing from the corner of her mouth, her heart was trembling, and she was seriously injured. Not far from her, Yun Yifeng's eyes were closed shut. His injuries were very serious. When old Ghost Zhan had waved his head injuries erupted, and he had almost died. There was also Tuo Sen, who was surrounded by 3 black battle words and was completely sealed inside. The sky was dim and storms were raging. There were several figures inside this covered world. The Black Tortoise General and the Vermilion Bird General were fighting the 2 middle-aged men from Planet 5 Elements. Their battle raged, and it was difficult for a winner to be decided. However, compared to them, the real battle was raging in the distance. That was where old Ghost John was, and Dao Master Blue Dream and the old man named Ma were fighting against old Ghost John. Dao Master Blue Dream's expression was gloomy, and his steps were a bit unsteady. Most of his spells were on the defensive, and he could not get close to old Ghost John. The old man named Ma had a helpless gaze, but his attacks caused the world to tremble. He had to act. He had come here with the cultivators from Planet 5 Elements due to Xuanluo's request. If he didn't act, he might anger Xuanluo, which would result in him being unable to leave this cave world. Old Ghost John's eyes were filled with coldness. If it wasn't tea for those 2 blocking him, he could have entered the last layer and killed Wang Lin to obtain the third soul. However, these two were very difficult to deal with. They were willing to suffer injuries to stall him. As a result, even he was unable to rush into the last layer in a short period of time. As the three battled, the old man named Ma took several steps backwards. His face was slightly pale, and he quickly sent out a divine sense message. "Fellow cultivator Blue Dream, I am going to use a powerful spell." The moment he sent out the divine sense message, Tao Master Blue Dream waved his hand and blue light surrounded him as he charged at Old Ghost John. A thunderous rumble echoed as Old Ghost John waved his right hand. The word battle appeared and rapidly expanded. A monstrous force spread out, and the blue light distorted before quickly collapsing. Even the firefly dares to compete with the bright moon. Old Ghost John let out a cold snort and waved his sleeve as he charged at the old man named Ma. He was not worried about Blue Dream. After all, Blue Dream hadn't gone through arcane turbulence. The old man named Ma was not the same. If Old Ghost John didn't want to be entangled, he would have to seriously injure the old man named Ma. The old man named Ma retreated and pointed at the sky. He was about to use a spell when he saw Old Ghost John fly past Blue Dream and head toward him. His expression immediately became gloomy. This Blue Dream can even block for a moment. However, whether it was him or Old Ghost John, they had underestimated Blue Dream. He was one of the 5 masters of the ancient star system and someone even the sovereign feared. Even though he hadn't gone through arcane turbulence, he had his own methods. At this moment, Tao Master Blue Dream bit the tip of his tongue and spat out blood. The essence blood fused with the collapsed blue light and formed an ancient zither. The ancient zither gave off an ancient aura, as if it had existed for countless years. It was invisible and had been stored inside Tao Master Blue Dream's blood for countless years. Now that it was revealed to the world once more, it revealed its power. This ancient zither was Tao Master Blue Dream's most powerful treasure and his ace. This was the real reason the sovereign dreaded Tao Master Blue Dream. This zither had only been used once, during the battle that made Tao Master Blue Dream famous. The song from the zither had buried countless bodies. Although he hadn't gone through any arcane turbulence, the effort and sacrifice he had put into refining this zither was even more than going through the arcane turbulence. The zither also had a mysterious origin. It felt like it didn't belong to the cave world. When the ancient zither appeared, Blue Dream's eyes were filled with sorrow. He missed his wife. Although his wife was within his storage space, he was unable to make her recover. With a sigh, Blue Dream sat down behind the zither and gently plucked the strings. Zang! The zither music echoed. Old Ghost John, who had walked right past Blue Dream, suddenly retreated 3 steps to the side and turned his head. The moment he turned his head, the zither music rippled. The sound from the zither came from Blue Dream and shrouded Old Ghost John, sealing his path of retreat. The old man named Ma's eyes revealed a strange light. He looked at the Tao Master Blue Dream, and his pupils shrank. He didn't recognize the zither, but he could tell that it was extraordinary. At this moment, he didn't hesitate and pointed at the sky with his right hand. 5-element golden celestial, condense, golden sky. Endless golden light came from the body of the old man named Ma and spread into the sky. The collapsed sky was covered by golden light, like the 9 songs and 3 signs. 5-element earth celestial, condense black earth. The old man named Ma pointed at the earth with his left hand. The earth rumbled and turned black. This spread like crazy until everything was colored black. After using 2 5-element spells, the old man named Ma was very tired. He didn't want to use more, and the hands he was pointing at the sky and earth with suddenly moved. At this moment, Tao Master Blue Dream's zither music became even more intense, and was filled with killing intent as it completely sealed Old Ghost John within. Old Ghost John's eyes lit up, and he waved his right hand. A golden word battle appeared. The word collapsed and shook the seal around him. The zither music suddenly became louder, and ripples echoed as it resisted the collapse of the word battle. At the same time, the spell cast by the old man named Ma moved toward Old Ghost John. The golden sky rumbled and a golden hand reached out toward Old Ghost John. Shortly after, a black hand came out of the black earth. Like the golden hand, it slowly closed in on Old Ghost John. There was a flash of coldness in Old Ghost John's eyes, and the moment the spells closed in, he touched his forehead. A vague shadow that looked like a soul appeared behind Old Ghost John. The shadow was wearing a cape that covered everything below the eyes, revealing only a pair of gloomy eyes and long hair. This was the seven-colored celestial sovereign's soul that had separated from old Ghost Zhan's body. The soul that wore the cape opened his arms and his hair fluttered. His hands collided with the golden and black hands. It was also at this moment that ancient Dao aura spread out from the entrance to the last layer. The sound of a heart beating began to echo. This was Wang Lin's heartbeat. 6,000 words in a major chapter. Wishing for sharing, for likes on the video. Old Ghost Zhan's seven-colored soul flew out. The cape wrapped around him and collided with the gold and black arms that came from the sky and earth. Thunderous rumbles echoed. Old Ghost Zhan was extremely powerful. Even without the seven-colored soul, he was a cultivator who was near the peak of arcane tribulant. He was half a step into the early stage of void tribulant. What's more, his soul had been chosen to be fused by the seven-colored soul. As a result, his cultivation level was infinitely close to that of the seven-colored celestial sovereign. At this moment, his body and soul separated. The seven-colored soul waved its arm and the gold arm from the sky collapsed. At the same time, the black arm from the earth trembled and disintegrated. Even Dao Master Blue Dream's zither seal disappeared without a trace under his impact. Dao Master Blue Dream coughed out blood. The zither buzzed and he was seriously injured. However, he didn't hesitate to play it again, and the two forces flew toward old Ghost Zhan. Even the old man named had Ma suffered a lot of rebound from the seven-colored soul breaking his spell. Blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth and he was pushed back more than 1,000 feet. However, he clenched his teeth and turned around to charge out once more. At the same time as the seven-colored soul and old Ghost Zhan separated, old Ghost Zhan flew toward the two middle-aged men from Planet 5 Elements. They were battling the Black Tortoise General and the Vermilion Bird General. The Black Tortoise and Vermilion Bird had already reached an agreement with old Ghost Zhan, or maybe were forced to help. They believed that listening to old Ghost Zhan was the only choice here, and they even believed that old Ghost Zhan would become the new seven-colored celestial sovereign. At this moment, old Ghost Zhan closed in and waved his sleeve. Two battle characters flew out and exploded on the two middle-aged men from Planet 5 Elements. They were seriously injured and forced to retreat. A shocking battle intent erupted from old Ghost Zhan. He was the creator of the battle scrolls and was the owner of the battle essence. If not for the fact that he had fused with the soul of the seven-colored celestial sovereign, which affected his personality, he wouldn't be so hesitant. Now that his body and soul had separated, a lot of the effects it had on him dissipated, returning him to his previous tyrannical ways. The tyrannical ways of battle. The two of you, quickly go the entrance and kill Wang Lin. Old Ghost Zhan waved his sleeve and the two generals rushed out borrowing this force. They rushed toward the entrance to the next layer that had formed after the mountain had collapsed. As he finished speaking, he turned around and the old man named Ma arrived. The two looked at each other and thunderous rumbles seemed to echo between them. As they stared at each other, they began to fight. Compared to the old man named Ma, Dao Master Blue Dream was more anxious, but his entire focus was on playing the zither to seal the seven-colored soul. He couldn't spare any effort to stop the Black Tortoise and the Vermilion Bird from disrupting Wang Lin. Xianxia hadn't passed out. She clenched her teeth and leaped into the air to stop the Black Tortoise and the Vermilion Bird. Not far away, Tuo Sen was sealed by 3 battle characters. At this moment, he let out a roar and broke the characters he had weakened. When the seal collapsed, he rushed toward the Black Tortoise and the Vermilion Bird. However, he and Xianxia were still slower than the two generals. Just as the two arrived at the collapsed mountain and were about to enter, a shocking change occurred. The fastest person was the Black Tortoise. He was 30 feet ahead of the Vermilion Bird. When he got close, he heard a heartbeat that echoed like thunder. This caused his own heart to beat chaotically. This sudden beat created a drilling pain in his heart. The Black Tortoise General's expression changed and a thunderous rumble echoed in his ears. The intense pain coming from his chest felt like a giant hand had reached into his chest and was about to grab his heart. When the intense pain arrived, the Black Tortoise General let out a painful cry, and he stopped moving forward. Just as he was about to retreat, a black hand appeared from the void and pressed against his chest. With a bang, the Black Tortoise General coughed out blood and was knocked back toward the Vermilion Bird behind him. The Vermilion Bird General was startled for a moment and also heard the heartbeat. This caused his heartbeat to become chaotic, and he felt a sharp pain in his chest. His face turned pale and he retreated without hesitation. However, just as he retreated, a sharp roar filled with ferociousness and violence along with bloodthirst came from the entrance. A shadow flew out and appeared before the Vermilion Bird General. The Vermilion Bird General only saw the black figure before he coughed out blood. The black shadow smashed into him, and he was thrown back in an arc. However, the black shadow followed closely after the Vermilion Bird General and hugged him. The shadow revealed a fierce smile and bit the Vermilion Bird General's neck. The Vermilion Bird General's miserable scream was terrifying, and his body quickly withered as a lot of blood was sucked out by the black shadow. All of this happened in an instant. It was too fast to imagine. While still in the air, the black shadow raised its feet and kicked off from the Vermilion Bird General. The Vermilion Bird General was knocked into the earth, while the black shadow borrowed this force to fly into the air. This was the Yisi puppet. This sudden scene caused Tang Shan and Tua Sen to stop. This also caught the attention of the old man named Ma, Tao Master Blue Dream, and old Ghost John, along with the seven-colored soul. As everyone's gazes gathered, Wang Lin's figure slowly appeared from the entrance to the last layer. Everyone who saw Wang Lin gasped because his appearance had changed greatly. He was still wearing all white, but the fresh bloodstains on his clothes were shocking. His hair was still white, but it was a mess, and part of his hair was draped over his shoulder. His white hair and clothes hadn't changed, but the skin under his clothes was covered in shocking runes. These runes flickered on Wang Lin's skin and gave off an ancient aura. His face was covered in runes. It looked very rough, and his eyes gave off a silver glow. The aura he exuded made it seem as if he felt disdain toward the entire world. His silver eyes revealed coldness and ruthlessness. There was also a sense of killing intent inside those silver eyes that made one's heart chill. What shocked Tua Sen the most was that there were 9 stars rotating between Wang Lin's eyebrows. In his right eye, there were also 9 ancient devil stars. Only his left eye had 8 ancient demon stars. Flesh blood flowed out from his left eye and fell onto his white shirt from his cheek. You have obtained all of Yi Mo's inheritances. Old Ghost John's expression changed. He felt a sense of danger from Wang Lin, and this feeling made his heart tremble. Not only him, but everyone who saw Wang Lin's silver eyes trembled. Tao Master Blue Dream fared better than others. After all, he was Wang Lin's elder. However, the old man named Ma felt his heart tremble when he saw the silver eyes. Silver eyes! Rumor has it that when the celestial ancestor descends, there will be 9 songs and 3 signs. The golden sky is one of the signs. There is also a rumor that the 9 songs and 3 signs are also what happens when the ancient ancestor descends. The 9 songs are for the ancient ones, and the 3 signs are for the celestials. I once heard that 2 of the 9 songs were silver eyes and golden body. This Wang Lin has only obtained Yi Mo's inheritance. How could he have silver eyes? Even Yi Mo didn't have that. While everyone was shocked, Xuan Luo looked at Wang Lin from the entrance to the last layer with excitement in his eyes. When he saw the silver eyes in the last layer for the first time, a huge wave was set off in his heart. When he saw it again now, he was still the same. The ancient ancestor's soul blood has allowed him to possess the first of the 9 songs, Silver Eye. As everyone felt shocked, Wang Lin's gaze swept past the ground and paused for a moment where Xuan Luo was. With his silver eyes, he vaguely saw something, but aside from himself, no one knew what he had seen. After his gaze swept by, it landed on the 7-colored soul that had separated from old Ghost Zhan. Looking at the body covered by the cape, Wang Lin pointed at the soul. The moment he pointed, the sound of a heart beating echoed like thunder. This sound came from Wang Lin's heart, and it quickly shrouded the world. Old Ghost Zhan's expression changed, and he immediately flew toward the 7-colored soul. Before Wang Lin's eyes, they fused into one. Wang Lin didn't stop him, and there was no need to stop him. After fusing, the 7-colored soul surrounded old Ghost Zhan and covered the sky behind him. He sneered and charged at Wang Lin. Tao Master Blue Dream and the old man named Ma was about to help when Wang Lin's words calmly echoed between the heartbeats. 2 seniors, you have worked hard. I'll finish this battle. Wang Lin naturally saw that they were injured, and he wanted to know how strong he was after obtaining the inheritance. After he finished speaking, his heartbeat was monstrous. The thunderous rumbles affected one's heartbeat. As old Ghost John closed in, this monstrous rumble entered his body and affected his heart directly. Old Ghost John suddenly stopped and a stinging pain came from his heart. His heartbeat became chaotic as if his heart was going to collapse. "What kind of spell is this?" Old Ghost John's expression changed. He raised his right hand and pressed it against his chest in an attempt to suppress the pain in his heart. Nearly 3,800 words, already quite long. Day by day people say it's short, look at others, all 2,000 words a chapter. Leo is that long. Wouldn't you cast a like for Leo's video? This was a battle between gods and celestials. Wang Lin's cultivation slowly disappeared, and his essences hid themselves. Right now his entire body gave off a dense, ancient Tao aura. Back then, the seven-colored celestial sovereign battled Yimo, and in the end, Yimo died. It was a pity. Today, I'll continue that battle with you. Wang Lin raised his right hand and mercilessly formed a fist. Popping sounds came from his hand. Wang Lin's silver eyes shined as he waved his sleeve and walked toward old Ghost John. While moving forward, the heartbeat in Wang Lin's body rumbled, causing chaos in old Ghost John's heart. Old Ghost John felt pain in his chest, and his expression was gloomy. In the sky, the Yeezy puppet turned into black fog and rushed toward old Ghost John. "Heartbeat, thunder echo." Wang Lin spoke calmly, and as he spoke, the thunder-like heartbeat became even faster. As the heartbeat violently raged, old Ghost John let out a roar. He ignored the pain in his heart as he charged at Wang Lin. Mind confused, collapse in one step, killing intent flashed in Wang Lin's eyes and he let out a roar. All the sound in the world seemed to gather on old Ghost John. His heart began to show signs of collapse. Old Ghost John's expression became fierce and he clenched his chest. His chest caved in as he used his power to control his heart by force, preventing it from beating. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed and he stepped forward. His right hand formed a fist and the ancient Tao aura gathered in his right hand. The 9 stars between his eyebrows and the 17 stars in his eyes rotated. All his ancient Tao aura gathered in this punch that flew toward old Ghost John. Thunderous rumbles echoed across the world. The sky collapsed and the earth collapsed. It was like the end of the world. Old Ghost John formed a seal and formed 7 battle characters in a row. They collided with Wang Lin's punch. Thunderous rumbles echoed and 6 of the 7 battle characters collapsed, and Wang Lin's punch also collapsed. Old Ghost John trembled and was forced back a few steps. The last character flew toward Wang Lin and exploded. The force landed on Wang Lin's body. Wang Lin let out a muffled groan and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. He looked up and saw the Yeezy puppet close in on old Ghost John, and they began to battle. After he absorbed the 7-colored Taoist, he became a lot stronger. Even though I have obtained all of Yi Mo's inheritances, aside from the left eye, I am still not his match. However, I can risk it once, regardless of whether I fail or not. Wang Lin remained calm and thought about the strongest spell he had inherited from Yi Mo. Yi Mo had learned this from the ancient Tao temple, and it was a secret spell of the ancient Tao clan. When Wang Lin was immersed in the memory of the inheritance, he saw this spell, so it was difficult to forget. Right now, after he had obtained all the inheritances beside the left eye, he had gained great comprehension of this spell. He slowly raised his arm and formed a fist before punching at the void before him. What flew out along with his punch was his 9 ancient god stars, which fused into his fist. God tremble, army formation. The endless celestial soldiers didn't appear like what happened in Yi Mo's memory, but it didn't stop Wang Lin's spell. The moment his punch landed, the collapsed world trembled and became distorted as it were being sucked in toward the punch. It was as if Wang Lin's punch had become the center of the world, and even if it was collapsing, it had to rotate with his fist as the center. The world rotated, only Wang Lin remained unmoving. This caused the expression of old Ghost John, who was fighting against the Yeezy puppet, to change. His body trembled and he felt a sense of danger. He bit the tip of his tongue and sprayed out blood that tried to devour the Yeezy puppet in order to force it back. Old Ghost John rushed toward Wang Lin. Before he got close, Wang Lin pulled back his fist and opened his palm before pushing the air in front of him. At the same time, Wang Lin's 8 ancient demon stars in his left eye rotated and flew out with his palm. Demon spell, wind and fire mountain. As the world rotated and distorted, burning wind appeared, forming 8 pillars around Wang Lin. Smoke and dense demonic energy spread out as miserable screams echoed. At the same time, the vague shadow of 8 ancient demons appeared between his pillars. The demons roared, and the pillars rotated around Wang Lin. From afar, these 8 smoking pillars of burning wind fused together seemed to form a storm. Old Ghost Zhan's body rushed into this storm of fire and wind. Thunderous rumble echoed, and he was about to force his way inside. However, he didn't have the time. The Yi puppet let out a roar and caught up to old Ghost Zhan. Wang Lin was inside the storm of fire and wind. After one punch and one wave, his right hand stopped in the air. Then he extended his index finger and pointed forward. "Devil Dao, life and death reverse," Wang Lin spoke as he pointed at old Ghost Zhan. The expression of old Ghost Zhan changed rapidly as he felt the life force in his body quickly turn into a death aura. As Wang Lin pointed, the ancient tomb began to show signs of collapse. Whether it was this layer, the layer below, or the layer above, they were all filled with endless death aura. This death aura was formed by the large amount of life that had died here over the countless years. At this moment, they had all moved due to Wang Lin's spell, and all gathered toward Wang Lin. In an instant, the death aura arrived, covering everything. There was so much death aura that it formed a sea. It had turned this rotating world into a dead sea. Inside this death aura, the aura of the ancient devil spread out. One could vaguely hear the howls of ghosts. "God, demon, devil, ancient Tao, no celestials," Wang Lin muttered as he opened his palms and gently pushed forward. The 3 ancient clan-S powers quickly merged inside his body. 9-star ancient god, 9-star ancient devil, 8-star ancient demon. These powers fused together inside Wang Lin to form the ancient Tao power. This was the strongest power Wang Lin possessed. They gathered in Wang Lin's right hand, and as his hand moved forward, a giant shadow appeared before him. This shadow was a head. This head was as large as the world, and it occupied most of the world. It gave off a gloomy and ancient aura. Its appearance was not Yimo or Wang Lin, but a stranger. Wang Lin didn't know who it was, but he had a familiar feeling. This feeling came from his bloodline, from the soul blood he had gotten from the ancient ancestor. If Wang Lin were to go to the ancient Dao clan in the immortal astral continent and see the towering statue that viewed the world with contempt, he would realize that the head that had appeared was the same as that statue. Ancient ancestor. In the distance, Xuanluo's body trembled. He looked at the head with respect. That head's eyes were blurry, and it was impossible to clearly see its eyes. At this moment, it opened its mouth and let out a breath. This breath was like a gust of wind that blew against the world, against old Ghost Zhan, and against the entire ancient tomb. The violent wind raged, and the earth collapsed. Crackling sounds came from the sky of this layer of the ancient tomb. The sky became gray and turned to stone. The earth was covered by gray light and was completely petrified. It was not only this layer. When this aura spread out, the last layer that had no heart left was petrified. Even the layer above, which was covered in fog, and the entire ancient tomb became petrified as the breath spread. Old Ghost Zhan's pupils shrank, filled with shock. His face was pale and retreated like crazy. He even ignored the Yi puppet that was chasing him. As he retreated, his hands formed a seal, and 7-colored smoke came out from his body, forming the 7-colored soul. At the same time, the second soul also came out, and it was shrouded by the cape. As the cape surrounded him, the ancient Tao breath blew by. The 7-colored soul immediately turned to stone, followed by the second soul. In the end, old Ghost Zhan's body also petrified with a flash of gray light. Everything seemed to end. But when old Ghost Zhan and the 2 souls became petrified, large amounts of cracking sounds echoed. The stone collapsed and the 2 souls went back into old Ghost Zhan's body. His body trembled and he coughed out blood as he retreated with horror in his eyes. He was afraid like when Wang Lin held the Li Guang bow. As he retreated, the petrified sky collapsed and large amounts of spatial rifts appeared. Along with it, the entire ancient tomb collapsed. The black 4th flower suddenly collapsed and turned into a storm as it shattered. Blood flowed out from the corner of Wang Lin's mouth, and he couldn't hold it back, so it sprayed out. He retreated more than 1,000 feet in the collapsed ancient tomb. There was pity and bitterness in Wang Lin's eyes. I used the ancient Tao, no celestial by force, but he still escaped. I don't have the power to use it again anytime soon. If I had the left eye, and my ancient demon was also 9 stars, this battle would not be so difficult. I am still not his match. Forget it. I'll go to the 5th flower and find the real door to the immortal astral continent. Then I'll open the door and borrow the power from the immortal astral continent to seal him. Wang Lin let out a sigh and disappeared from the collapsing ancient tomb. The last day of June, wishing for the like button for the VIDEO. A sweep of the like button for the VIDEO each month. The June ticket expires tonight at 12. In the core of the cave world, inside the furnace surrounded by black fog, was the 5 flowers 8 doors formation. The 5 flowers had bloomed and only the 3rd flower had withered, but the 8 doors were integrated inside the 5th flower. It could be anything in the world, whether it was a blade of grass, a tree, a person, a beast. Anything in the world could be the door. As a result, finding the real door among the 8 in the 5th flower was simply too difficult. Wang Lin had no clues, but he still had to enter the 5th flower, the last level of this cave. The 5th flower required the 3rd soul to bloom. The 3rd soul contained all the memories, and once it was absorbed, the 5th flower would change. It would create a world using 7 colored S memories. The sky was not blue and seemed to be covered with dark clouds, and behind the dark clouds were 9 suns hanging up in the sky. The suns gave off hot light, but the earth was simply too large. Even with 9 suns, there seemed to be places where the sunlight wouldn't reach. Wind swept across the earth with a sense of humidity, kicking off layers of dust which flew off into the endless mountain range. As the wind howled, it caused large amounts of leaves to rustle. There were many large pavilions and palaces made of jade built within the mountain range. There were over 1,000 buildings that overlapped with the mountains. From afar, it was difficult to tell if the palaces and pavilions were added to the mountains or carved from the mountains. Every palace and pavilion was different. They were spread across the mountain range, like a sky temple in the mountains. A thin layer of clouds shrouded the mountain range, making it appear and disappear, adding a layer of mystery. There were hundreds of cranes flying through the clouds as if they were playing around. There seemed to be people sitting on the cranes, but it was impossible to see them clearly due to the clouds. Inside the mountain range, there was water flowing. The water had flowed for countless years to form a long river that flowed down the mountains into a pool. The pool branched out into countless different branches. Wang Lin sat on a rock beside the river. He looked at the river and frowned. The sound of a bell was echoing from a distant peak, but he didn't care. He had been in the 5th flower for more than 2 months, but he had found no clues about finding the real door. The river was clear, and his reflection could be seen. He wore a blue robe that gave off a faint green light that contained a certain amount of protection. He also had a red string on his waist with a jade token hanging on it. This jade was crystal clear, and it was not ordinary. As it flashed, it was very beautiful. However, the reflection of Wang Lin inside the river was very different from the usual Wang Lin. His appearance, red lips and white teeth, sword-like brows and star-like eyes. In particular, his eyes were deep, as if they contained endless power. People of the same sex were bound to yield, and the opposite sex was bound to admire. He had the appearance of someone around 18 or 19 years old. This was the most handsome person Wang Lin had seen in his life. However, if you were to add the passage of time and the helplessness of life to this face, it would become extremely similar to the statue Wang Lin had taken from greed. Looking at the reflection in the river, Wang Lin still had a strange expression even after he had already spent 2 months here. After entering the 5th flower, which is formed by the 7-colored celestial sovereign S memories, I became him. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze as he sat there and looked up at the sky. In his ears, the bells from the Great Hall began to echo again. Immortal Astral Continent. This place is the Immortal Astral Continent. I didn't expect to step onto the Immortal Astral Continent first through 7-colored S memory. Wang Lin looked up at the 9 suns in the sky and revealed a bitter smile. This world belonged to the 7-colored celestial sovereign. It was formed by his memories. It could be said that everything here was an illusion, but they were things that existed. The sex of the Immortal Astral Continent are not something the cave world could compare to. Wang Lin touched the Tao robe he was wearing. The protection on it could block the full power attack of an ascendant cultivator. However, how can I find the real door? Perhaps only the 3rd soul knows. My appearance now is due to the 3rd soul as well. but I can tell that I haven't T integrated fully with the third soul. I also can T fuse with it. Wang Lin casually reached into the water and scattered some. However, at this moment, he frowned once more. Su Dao, you got guts. The bell has rung twice and you haven't T gone to pay your respects to teacher, who just came out from closed-door cultivation. A sharp voice echoed behind Wang Lin. A young man about 20 years old walked down from the mountain wearing the same blue robe as Wang Lin. He stared at Wang Lin with a cold gaze. I came to catch you and bring you back under the orders of senior brother to be punished by the sect rules. The young man sneered as he approached Wang Lin. He reached toward Wang Lin's hair, apparently wanting to drag Wang Lin by the hair back to the hall. Just as his hands got close, Wang Lin turned around and coldly looked at the young man. This gaze caused the young man to tremble. It was as if Wang Lin's gaze was a pair of swords that stabbed into his soul. This young man's expression suddenly changed, and he stood there like a wooden chicken. This only lasted for a moment, and when Wang Lin withdrew his gaze, he resumed breathing. He staggered back several steps and nearly fell. He looked at Wang Lin with fear for the first time. You. In the world of the fifth flower, Wang Lin had taken on the appearance of the young seven-colored celestial sovereign and also obtained the memories of his early years. He knew that the young seven-colored celestial sovereign had a weak character and wasn't as ambitious and ruthless as he was later. The seven-colored celestial sovereign at this age was very talented and should have been protected by the sect. However, his teacher was always in closed-door cultivation, and his talent attracted a lot of jealousy. His life in the sect was not good. The young man before him was one that often bullied him. They never did it outright, always acting in secret. They often used the excuse of punishing him by the sect rules. The seven-colored celestial sovereign didn't catch the attention of the ancestor until more than 10 years later. Then he was slowly raised by the sect. However, Wang Lin was not Su Dao, so he wouldn't allow history to pass as usual. As the young man retreated in horror, Wang Lin stepped forward and stood beside the youth. The young man's face turned place and his eyes were filled with fear. He still couldn't imagine how this had happened. He'd been gone for a while and had just come back yesterday. He didn't expect this Su Dao to suddenly become like a different person. Before, Su Dao would be bullied as he wished. The young man was about to speak, but his voice was suddenly stopped. Wang Lin grabbed his neck and raised him into the air. His breathing was stopped. His face turned red and he grabbed Wang Lin's arm in an attempt to struggle free. But no matter how much he struggled, Wang Lin had an iron grip that didn't loosen at all. Wang Lin held the young man's neck and pulled him closer. He looked at the young man and said, word for word, "Don't provoke me, there is no next time." The young man's vision was already turning blurry, and he was almost scared out of his mind. He wasn't able to manage a nod, but his appearance showed that he would never dare to have a thought about provoking Wang Lin. Wang Lin slowly loosened his hand and smiled. He patted the young man's head and said, "Follow me up the mountain." With that, he turned to walk toward the great hall on the top of the mountain. The young man touched his neck and gasped for air. It took him a while to recover. His eyes were filled with fear and awe. At that moment, he had felt death and knew that this Su Dao would have really killed him. While trembling, he quickly followed Wang Lin. The mountain path was winding, and each step was like walking on clouds. Wang Lin walked toward the mountain top as the wind blew at him, causing his long hair to flutter. The smell of the earth entered his heart, and it was very comfortable. With celestial energy nourishing all life, more people are suitable to cultivate into celestials. Even the grass and trees would gain spirit. There are even ferocious beasts that turn human, although Wang Lin knew that this celestial energy and smell were all fake. That just meant that the real, immortal astral continent was truly like this. It was completely different from the cave world. There were dark clouds in the sky, and as more dark clouds gathered, they began to collide. Thunderous rumbles echoed as lightning moved through the clouds like silver snakes. "It's about to rain." Wang Lin arrived at the top of the mountain as he muttered, and saw the magnificent hall at the top. The hall was more than 1,000 feet tall and stood there like a giant beast. Outside the temple, there was a square more than 10,000 feet large, and in the middle was a huge furnace. There were 9 arm-thick incense sticks burning, with green smoke flying into the air. At this moment, there were nearly 100 cultivators standing on the square. They were in groups of 2 and 3 talking to each other. The moment Wang Lin entered the square, the thunder in the sky rumbled and big drops of rain fell. The rain formed a curtain that even the figures of people became a blur. The rain fell on the square, making the rain sound even louder. In an instant, the entire square was covered in flowing rain, and the ripples created when the raindrops landed. In dreams, Leo sees his video standing in 3rd place on the popular charts. Hoping to garner more fan support, and looking for help from you all to climb even higher in the rankings this month. The rain quickly fell and the voices became even more intense. However, the 9 incense sticks were still burning and showed no signs of extinguishing. The smoke continued to rise, and no matter how fast the rain fell, it was unable to make the smoke dissipate. The smoke mixed with the rain, creating a very beautiful image. It was like a dream. As the rain fell, an umbrella was held up above Wang Lin's head. It was the young man that had followed Wang Lin. The young man had an embarrassed expression and decided to simply not to look at Wang Lin as he held up the umbrella. In the square, there were nearly 100 cultivators, and they all looked over. There was a group led by a young man in a black robe. They frowned and were about to shout when the 3rd bell rang. As the bell rang, the smoke that floated in the air distorted and gathered to form a vortex. As the vortex rotated, it pushed the rain aside. A blurry figure slowly appeared inside the vortex. The figure walked out and stood in the sky. "Welcome back from closed-door cultivation, teacher." The surrounding cultivators, numbering almost 100, clasped their hands at the figure. He was a middle-aged man who had a head of black hair scattered on his shoulders. He was not handsome, but he had a strange temperament and an otherworldly aura. As he stood in the sky, his gaze swept past his disciples below. When he saw Wang Lin and the youth that was still holding the umbrella behind Wang Lin, he couldn't help but frown. However, he soon smiled. "Su Dao, Zhou Li, the 2 of you follow teacher to the hall. The rest of you can leave." The middle-aged man's words were soft. He stepped into the air and walked into the hall. The young man in black, who was the leader of the people that wanted to reprimand Wang Lin, nodded with a serious expression. He looked at Wang Lin and walked toward the hall. Wang Lin's expression was calm. In the memories he had obtained from the 3rd soul, his teacher was very good to him. If not for the fact that his teacher was always in closed-door cultivation, he wouldn't be suffering unfair treatment in the sect. In the early years, 7-colored's personality was cowardly, and he never said these things. As for Zhou Li, he was 7-colored's senior brother who was also very talented. On the surface he was gentle, but in truth, he felt contempt towards 7-colored. He ignored all the people bullying 7-colored. Stepping into the rain, Wang Lin walked into the hall under everyone's jealous gazes. Inside the hall, the middle-aged man was sitting on a chair, and Zhou Li was respectfully standing on the side. "Teacher won't be out of closed-door cultivation for long. After I settle a few matters, I'll go back into closed-door cultivation." The middle-aged man spoke slowly. His gaze swept past Zhou Li and Wang Lin before silently pondering. Wang Lin had seen this in the memories from the 3rd soul. He knew that after Su Dao's teacher told them a few things, he would teach Su Dao and Zhou Li an art. This was one of the 3 most powerful arts of the Dong Lin sect, the introduction to the Cloud Dao heavenly art. If one could reach the peak of this art, they could learn its essence. The introductory art was short, but it was mysterious, and not everyone could cultivate it. Once the introductory art had been used, clouds would appear. If the clouds were thin, then that person was not suited to learn the art. If clouds were dense and a shadow appeared within them, then it would be for the best. In addition, the time it took to complete it was also tested. Over the countless years in the Donglin sect, the people that obtained the qualification the fastest had taken 7 breaths, while the slowest had taken several hours. Back then, when 7-colored was learning this technique, he was scared by Zhou Li's cold gaze and hesitated. His speed slowed down, and he took 20 breaths to complete a cycle. And Zhou Li completed it in 11 breaths. Due to Zhou Li's cold gaze, his mind wasn't focused, and he wasn't able to produce a lot of clouds, causing him to be suppressed by Zhou Li. Then a shadow appeared from within Zhou Li's clouds and devoured all of Su Dao's clouds. 7-colored's teacher saw this and let out a sigh. He no longer taught Su Dao one of the 3 great arts of the Donglin sect, but taught him the 7-colored celestial art that was lower in rank. Wang Lin knew this from the memories he had obtained, and it seemed impossible to change. Today, this scene appeared once more. Wang Lin stood there and silently pondered. He didn't know if he should follow the memory and suffer the same as Seven Color did back then, or go against the memory and change everything. According to logic, he should follow the Seven Colored S memory so he could fuse with the third soul even more. Perhaps he would eventually fuse enough to know where the real door was. But he didn't know if this would happen or not. Also, Wang Lin didn't want to fully integrate with the third soul. If he did this, Shi Qing would never be able to awaken. The moment Wang Lin fully integrated with the third soul, Shi Qing would disappear and Wang Lin would become the new Seven Colored. In addition, Wang Lin wasn't willing to act like this. This art is one of the 3 most powerful arts of the Donglin sect. It is called the Cloud Dao Heavenly Art. Your cultivation levels aren't high enough to learn it, so you must learn the introductory art first. However, there is a restriction to learning this art. Only one person from each lineage in that generation can learn it. Today, I chose the 2 of you to find the person who is most suitable for this art. The middle-aged man's voice echoed. He began to talk about the selection method, including the intensity of the clouds and the time it took to complete a cycle. Zhou Li's head was lowered. His eyes were filled with desire he found hard to hide. The heavenly Tao was damaged, and it will take a long time to repair, the middle-aged man slowly said. Then he taught the introductory art. Then he waved his right hand and 2 clouds flew out and entered Wang Lin and Zhou Li's bodies. The clouds have entered your bodies. The 2 of you have to immediately sit down and cycle the clouds as fast as possible. The first to succeed will have the advantage. During this process, the 2 of you must focus and not be disturbed by external thoughts. As the middle-aged man spoke, Zhou Li immediately sat down. Wang Lin also sat down. Just as he was about to cycle the cloud inside his body, Zhou Li looked up at Wang Lin. His gaze was grim and threatening. The middle-aged man naturally saw this and frowned. He didn't say anything, and instead looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin let out a sigh in his heart. It was this gaze that made the timid Su Dao lose his qualification. However, today he was not Su Dao but Wang Lin. As Zhou Li's gaze swept by, Wang Lin's eyes became cold and casually looked at Zhou Li. This gaze caused Zhou Li to tremble. He clearly felt a killing intent come from Wang Lin's eyes, causing his mind to tremble. At this moment, Wang Lin had already closed his eyes, and the cloud energy was rapidly cycling in his body. Zhou Li quickly closed his eyes as well. Time slowly passed. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths. When the 8th breath arrived, large amounts of cloud spread out from Wang Lin's body. The middle-aged man's eyes lit up, and he suddenly stood up. The clouds around Wang Lin's body became even more dense until they enveloped most of the hall. The clouds churned and faint roars could be heard from within. At this moment, it was the 20th breath, and Zhou Li had barely managed to cycle the cloud once to produce some clouds. However, compared to Wang Lin, it was simply too insignificant. The moment the clouds came out of his body, the clouds from Wang Lin's body raged and formed a giant dragon head. This dragon head was fierce, and its eyes were filled with a fierce gaze as it devoured Zhou Li. The clouds around Zhou Li were absorbed rapidly by the dragon. He coughed out blood and looked weakened. The memory had been changed. The moment it was reversed, the great hall became distorted. The middle-aged man looked at Wang Lin while completely ignoring Zhou Li, and his figure also began to distort. At the same time, the square outside the hall, the mountain outside the square, the mountain range outside the mountain, and the Donglin sect outside the mountain range all began to distort. It was as if the entire world was about to collapse. This was the shocking scene that unfolded after the memory was changed. Good. Su Dao, you read the second person under your teacher's lineage that has the qualification to learn the Cloud Dao Heavenly Art. The middle-aged man laughed as his figure became distorted. He looked at the terrified Zhou Li and spoke once more. Zhou Li, although you don't have the qualification to learn the Cloud Dao Heavenly Art, teacher will teach you the 7-colored celestial art. When the middle-aged man's words echoed, a tearing pain appeared in Wang Lin's mind, as if everything was going to collapse. The aura of the 8 doors suddenly appeared but quickly dissipated. Following that, the distortion slowly disappeared and returned to normal. However, a huge wave was set off in Wang Lin's heart. I understand. Change the 7-colored celestial sovereign's memories to create contradictions, and the moments of confusion will allow me to sense the 8 doors. The greater the contradiction and confusion, the clearer the feeling. I can even use it to find the real door. This is my other method. Change the 7-colored celestial sovereign's memories. Su Dao, you have to spend time practicing this spell. In 5 months, the competition between those of your generation in the Dongling sect will begin. The top 10 can enter the Donglin pool. If you can enter, your future achievements will be immeasurable. Everything had changed. Wang Lin suddenly looked up. From yesterday until now, Leo has only slept for 2 hours. Can't take it anymore. Today there's only the first watch. Leo wants to catch up on sleep. After the salon ends, the missing chapters will be compensated. The third soul had a profound memory of the competition in 5 months. In that competition, after obtaining the qualification to cultivate the Cloud Dao heavenly art, coupled with his cultivation, which was already powerful within this generation, Zhou Li rushed into the top 10. He had finished in 9th place and obtained the reward of cultivating in the Donglin pool. As for Su Dao, after losing the qualification to cultivate the Cloud Dao heavenly art, he became even more timid. His personality became twisted and somewhat dark. He failed in the competition. It could be said that this competition was a huge turning point in Su Dao's life and a big reason why his personality changed. In the following years, Su Dao would enter a slump and rarely talk to people. He would be in closed-door cultivation alone until he happened to meet his ancestor. The ancestor would teach him, and he would slowly raise his head. Unfortunately, the good thing didn't last. An unexpected encounter caused Su Dao to be expelled from the Donglin sect. After that, over the countless years, the Donglin sect of Su Dao was no more. What remained was the 7-colored celestial sovereign, who struggled and unwillingly became cruel and ruthless until he finally created the 7 Dao sect. As for Zhou Li, the day the 7-colored celestial sovereign completed his Dao, he captured Zhou Li and cruelly killed him. All of these events played out in Wang Lin's mind like pictures. He sat in the mountain beside the flowing river. He looked at the river as if he was looking at time flowing by. This was the 3rd day after Su Dao's teacher had taught him the Cloud Dao heavenly art and gone back into closed-door cultivation. As for Zhou Li, he had gone into closed-door cultivation as well, and his hatred for Su Dao was like Su Dao's hatred for him in the past. The river continued to flow, and the third soul's memory became a blur in Wang Lin's mind and was replaced by the Cloud Dao heavenly art. The Donglin sect was one of the 9 sects' 13 factions of this area. Although not as powerful as the Purple Sun sect, it was very mysterious. Their disciples rarely went outside. The 3 great arts of the sect were very famous on the immortal astral continent and had been passed down since ancient times. Among the 3 great arts, the Cloud Dao heavenly art was very profound. It focused on the clouds of the world, and it was as ethereal as the Grand Dao of the world. After integrating with the cloud, borrow the cloud to absorb the essence of the world and use it to cast the great spells of the Cloud Dao. Forming one's own cloud beast that devoured clouds and spat out fog was the first spell of this art. This spell was hidden inside the introductory art. If one cultivated the introductory art to the limit, one could comprehend this spell. For others, the Cloud Dao heavenly art would require a lot of time and powerful comprehension in addition to a lot of time. However, Wang Lin already had a high cultivation level, something that past Zhou Li or Su Dao could not compare with. Adding on the fact that Wang Lin had 7 essences that he had comprehended himself, cultivating the introductory art very simple. Strands of smoke floated out from the river before him and flew toward him. After circling him a few times, they entered his body. Black smoke slowly came from both the beginning and end of this river. They were like clouds, and they all flew toward Wang Lin, slowly entering his body. Wang Lin's figure flickered inside the cloud. Shortly after, it wasn't only the river giving off white smoke, the grass was as well. Generate now. Soon, Wang Lin could not even see his fingers within 1,000 feet around him. The white clouds moved as if there was a dragon within. I wonder if I can continue cultivating this Cloud Dao heavenly art once I leave the 5th flower. Wang Lin pondered inside the white clouds. Although he had only cultivated this spell for 2 days, he had seen how powerful and vast it was. This method of absorbing the clouds inside the body could change the structure of the body until it became like the clouds. It would be separated from the world and make it difficult for people to see through him. Wang Lin sat beside the river, and 1 month passed in a flash. During this time, Wang Lin had been sitting there, absorbing the creation of this world. Strands of white gas entered his body, giving him a warm and comfortable feeling. The more he cultivated the art, the more distortion and signs of collapse would appear. However, unless something drastic enough to cause the memory to be turned upside down and collapse came up, these distortions wouldn't help Wang Lin find the real door. On this day, the clouds around Wang Lin completely disappeared, and when all the clouds entered Wang Lin's body, he opened his eyes. His eyes were like clouds, blurry, but contained a strange force that could deter others. If others looked into his eyes, they would feel as if they were surrounded by dense clouds and lose themselves. This art is not ordinary. Wang Lin spat out a mouthful of foul air. This air was like a gray fog and moved like a dragon. After it was launched more than 30 feet, it slowly dissipated. The clouds here are not very dense, not enough to cultivate this art. If I want to complete the introductory portion and change the memory, I need to find more clouds to absorb. Wang Lin stood there and his eyes lit up. An image appeared in his mind. This was a map that he had created. 1 month ago, when Su Dao's teacher taught Wang Lin the Cloud Dao heavenly art, the change from the original memory caused the hidden 8 doors to appear. However, the feeling of the 8 doors instantly disappeared, and Wang Lin could only get a rough map of their locations. During this month, as Wang Lin practiced the art, the constant distortions had allowed him to slowly form an outline. The positions of the 8 doors gradually became more clear. Wang Lin got up and jumped into the air. He disappeared from the small river and appeared in the sky above the Donglin sect. He didn't stop as white clouds surrounded him, and he charged forward like a cloud. Cloud Dao art, endless flash. In the sky, dark clouds covered this area. Thunder rumbled and rain fell on the plain below. The dark clouds covered a wide range, and there was also a city below. This city contained countless mortals of the immortal astral continent. Wang Lin sat inside the dark clouds. His hands formed a seal and waved. The thunder became even more intense as the lightning swam endlessly through the clouds, and the rain began to pour even faster. However, the clouds began to churn as strands of the dark clouds were extracted and pulled into Wang Lin's body. In a flash, 7 days passed. After 7 days, the dark clouds had become thin and a large amount of them had disappeared. There was a piece of cloud that seemed to contain spirit and was quickly moving forward. The moment it touched another cloud, that cloud would begin to churn and be absorbed. Then this palm-sized cloud would quickly move away. Instant create! Another 7 days passed after these 7 days. In a flash, it had been 2 months since Wang Lin learned the Cloud Dao heavenly art. The cloud that had drifted somewhere rapidly shrank until it turned into 7 cloud dragons, revealing the figure inside. Wang Lin let out a deep breath and opened his eyes. His pupils disappeared and were replaced by clouds. It was a shocking sight. In these 2 months, I have managed to cultivate the beginning part of the Cloud Dao to the 9th level, just a step from reaching completion. However, this isn't the biggest harvest. The real harvest is that in these 2 months of changing the memory, I have found one of the 8 doors. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a mysterious light, but through the clouds in his eyes it looked strange. A door clearly appeared in the map he had drawn in his mind. If I'm lucky, perhaps I can find the real door with one try. Wang Lin stepped forward and charged at the earth below. Below him was an endless jungle with towering mountains. There would sometimes be roars from beasts echoing through the jungle. In a flash, Wang Lin charged into the jungle and charged toward the door he felt in his mind. Shortly after, Wang Lin stopped at a very ordinary-looking tree. This tree was more than 100 feet tall, and a person looked very small compared to it. This tree seemed to have survived for an unknown amount of time, and it would take about 5 people to completely surround it. A giant python more than 1,000 feet long was wrapped around the tree. It spat out its tongue as it looked at Wang Lin with its cold gaze. Wang Lin ignored the python. He placed his right hand on the tree and slowly closed his eyes. The python's head shrank and it climbed up the tree. It could feel how terrifying Wang Lin was and didn't dare to provoke him. After climbing up several dozen feet, the python leaped off the tree and landed on the ground. It kicked a lot of dead leaves into the air before it quickly slithered away into the jungle. Just as the python left, Wang Lin opened his eyes and looked at it. He charged straight at the python and grabbed its tail. The python twisted its body to break free, and a monstrous black light came from its body. The shadow of a giant door slowly appeared on the back of the python. This python was one of the 8 doors, not the tree. Wang Lin clearly felt this when the python tried to leave. Staring at the door that appeared on the python's back, Wang Lin stepped forward. Make yours. Aimlessly wishing for the like button for the video. Half an hour later, Wang Lin left the jungle. He looked calm, but he let out a sigh. The python was indeed one of the 8 doors, but it wasn't the real door. 5 flowers, 8 doors. If I check the doors one by one, I will eventually find it. However, even if I completely cultivate the Cloud Dao heavenly art, it won't cause enough change to the third soul's memory. In that case, I won't be able to look for the 8 doors. Right now I can only wait for the competition in several months. The 7-colored celestial sovereign had profound memories of this competition. If I can subvert the memory enough in the competition, it would confuse it enough to reveal the real door. Wang Lin floated in the air and pondered. His figure turned into a cloud and flew toward the Donglin sect. Time soon passed and 3 months went by. To be more accurate, it was the 5th month since Wang Lin had learned the Cloud Dao heavenly art. This was when the Donglin sect competition would begin. The Donglin sect was part of the 9 sects' 13 factions. Every 30 years, the sect would hold an internal competition among the lower-level disciples to find those excellent talents to be focused on. In addition, the qualification to cultivate inside the Donglin pool made every competition extremely fierce. The world of cultivators was also the strong preying on the weak. Although the rule was to not kill, injuries and deaths still happened. As long as one didn't go on a slaughter, the sect wouldn't mind. The Donglin sect had 321 lineages, and every lineage would send out 3 to 5 people. The lineage that won would obtain great rewards. As a result, the competition was quite fierce. The competition of more than 1,000 people would take some time. It was also the rare time when the sect would become lively. The Donglin sect was too big. So many people didn't know each other. The competition was a good time to get to know more people. On this day, Su Dao's teacher had come out of closed-door cultivation. He summoned all disciples and selected 3 to enter the competition. Wang Lin and Zhou Liu were naturally selected. The other person was a woman. She looked very beautiful even though she didn't smile. This woman was called Qin Mei. 7-Collared had profound memories of this woman and even some admiration. However, after this competition, she would become a Dao pair with Zhou Li, cutting off Su Dao's thoughts. Outsiders would find it difficult to believe that the Su Dao now would eventually become the decisive and cunning 7-colored celestial sovereign, but Wang Lin felt empathic. He remembered that 2,000 years ago he was a completely different person from today. The environment could change everything, and experience could change one's personality. This was a type of fortune. It could be good or bad. As Wang Lin pondered, a beautiful voice echoed in his ears. Junior brother Su, I haven't congratulated you on obtaining the qualification to cultivate the Cloud Dao heavenly art. I couldn't even find a shadow of you recently and have only seen you now. It was Qin Mei, who smiled cleverly and looked at Wang Lin. Her words were gentle, and her fragrance blew into Wang Lin's face with the wind. Wang Lin faintly smiled. He was very calm and didn't speak. However, his smile made Qin Mei's heart tremble. In her memory, Su Dao had always been shy. If she talked to him, he would blush and not know what to do. However, the feeling from his smile was very different from before, as if it contained a feeling that couldn't be explained. Su Dao was very handsome, and combined with Wang Lin's smile, it contained a unique charm. Not far away, Zhou Li watched all of this, and his eyes were gloomy. Although he looked the same as 5 months ago, the bloodlines and fatigue in his eyes revealed his inner turmoil. Qin Mei was about to speak, but her teacher waved his hand and a cloud shrouded the 3 of them. It flew toward the main sect of the Donglin sect. The competition of the low-level disciples was at the main square of the main sect. If it was other times, the disciples of each lineage were not allowed to enter without a summon. It was only during the competition that the disciples of the various lineages could come here. For many people, this would be the only time in their life they could come here. The square wasn't large, but it was big enough to accommodate 1,000 cultivators. Though if the competition was here, it wouldn't be large enough. However, the Donglin sect was able to become one of the 9 sects' 13 factions, so their methods were unpredictable. The elders of the sect would constantly add restrictions to the square each generation. During each competition, a small amount of these restrictions would be activated, and a rift to the Donglin rift that the sect had created would open. That was the battlefield for the first trial of the competition. At this moment, rays of light flew through the sky above the square. Every ray of light was the teacher of each lineage bring their disciples. Because it was the competition of low-level disciples, and there was a good chance of finding the future genius of the sect, the Dong Lin sect never invited outsiders. It was a completely internal affair. However, the sect master, the elders, and all the various deacons would be present. They want to see which low-level disciples were people worth raising. When Wang Lin arrived at the square, most of the disciples participating were here. Although there were many people packed here, it was not messy. The entire place was orderly and there wasn't much noise. As a result, an invisible pressure naturally spread across everyone's hearts. This pressure increased as more people appeared. This made their hearts beat faster and made them not dare to make any noise. Half an hour later, the disciples of 321 lineages all arrived. They were all nervous and silent. Wang Lin remained calm, but Qin Mei beside him was no longer smiling. She seemed a little nervous. Zhou Li was a bit better, but it was obvious that he was very nervous. Wang Lin's calmness shocked Qin Mei, but for some reason, she also slowly calmed down. My Donglin sect has produced generations of talents until the Donglin sect became one of the 9 sect's 13 factions. This was obtained by the blood of your seniors and passed down to your generation. Today is the great competition of your generation. I hope to see the future of the Donglin sect. I hope to see the indomitable spirit and decisiveness of a cultivator. The first trial of the competition is to enter the Donglin Rift, and the time limit is 3 days. During those 3 days, the goal is to steal the tokens from each other. The 30 with the most taken will pass. A mighty voice echoed across the square. There was a flash of golden light and nearly 100 figures appeared. They were all powerful cultivators of the Dong Lin sect. They sat in the sky and looked at the 1,000 disciples below. Dozens of gazes fell on Wang Lin. Wang Lin had heard the same words in 7-colored S memory. It was the same amount of participants, and even the golden figures in the sky were the same. The only difference was that those gazes were mostly looking at Zhou Li in the memory. As for Su Dao, although there were a few gazes, Su Dao's heart trembled under those gazes, and he lowered his head. He had a pitiful performance. On the contrary, although Zhou Li trembled, he raised his chest and didn't back down. With his talent and qualification to learn the Cloud Dao heavenly art, it was his time to shine. However, everything had changed. Gazes also swept past by Zhou Li, but no matter how much he struggled to hold on, it didn't matter. Almost all those gazes swept past him and gathered on Wang Lin. As for Wang Lin, he was calm as always, without any change. It was as if those gazes had no effect on him, and the truth was indeed so. Zhou Li clenched his fist and lowered his head. His eyes were filled with jealousy and resentment. Over the last 5 months, he couldn't understand how this all happened. How did the cowardly Su Dao change so much? Everything that should belong to him in his mind was snatched by Su Dao. Enter! At this moment, the mighty voice echoed once more and a 5-colored light flashed above the square. A giant vortex appeared, and as the vortex rumbled, a foreign world appeared inside. The moment the vortex appeared, all the disciples were surrounded by a light. The light brought the disciples into the vortex. More than 1,000 disciples and more than 1,000 rays of light entered the vortex. The square became quiet, leaving only the teachers of those disciples. They respectfully clasped their hands at the golden figures before sitting down to observe the competition. After everyone entered, the vortex stopped rotating and turned into a mirror. It revealed everything inside. As long as one's divine sense entered, they could clearly see everything inside. This method allowed the powerful cultivators of the Dong Lin sect to find the genius of the next generation. This was an endless dark land. The sky was dim, as if endless dust and fog had covered it. This was a spatial rift the Dong Lin sect had created. Everything imitated an area of the immortal astral continent. When Wang Lin appeared, he was on a plain covered in grass as tall as a person. The place he appeared in was exactly the same as 7-colored S memory. Back then, Su Dao eventually lost his token in the first trial and failed. He could only watch Zhou Li and several people from his lineage stand up and shine. And Su Dao was just an insignificant grain of sand under that light. This turn of events shocked Su Dao greatly. Su Dao had also suffered Zhou Li's cruel abuse here. Although he wasn't killed, it was something Su Dao could not forget. It was the point when his personality changed. Wang Lin looked up at the dim sky as he muttered to himself, "I have arrived, and everything will change." Wishing for the like button for the video. As Wang Lin walked within the plane, the grass around him parted ways, making a path for him. His pace was not fast, because 3 days was enough for him to complete everything. However, Wang Lin was still considering how to stimulate the third soul and cause his memories to become more confused. Then I should be able to do this. Wang Lin took a step and looked at the dark sky. A ray light flew through the sky and suddenly stopped when it passed Wang Lin. There was a flash of sword light, and the ray of light charged at Wang Lin. This was a young man wearing blue. His face was filled with killing intent, and he had a bloody aura around him. There was a flash of sword light as he closed in to take Wang Lin's head. However, as he closed in, Wang Lin slowly raised his right hand and pointed at the sword light. The light shined brightly and then shattered, revealing the shattered sword and the terrified young man. The young man trembled and his body immediately exploded. He disappeared before Wang Lin's fingers. Only the 3 tokens remained. They were surrounded by a gentle light and floated there motionless. Okay, I'll just obtain first place in this trial. Wang Lin waved his sleeve, and after putting away the 3 tokens, he disappeared. When he reappeared, he was beside a ray of light that was flying through the sky. The young man was on guard, carefully looking around. However, Wang Lin had appeared too suddenly, and he knocked the young man out of the sky. Wang Lin didn't carelessly kill people. He raised his palm and a token appeared. In a flash, he disappeared. In the first trial, Wang Lin was like a wolf that entered a flock of sheep. No one could escape him, and he took the token of everyone he passed by. Wang Lin gradually became famous in the first trial. When one saw Wang Lin, they would tremble and hand over their token. Wang Lin attacked very casually. He knew this was 7-colored S memory. Every unreasonable thing would become reasonable as the memory became distorted. For example, outside the Donglin Rift, the expressions and thoughts of all the people outside were made up by 7-colored S memory. They would act depending on how 7-colored thought they would act. Who is this person? In less than 1 day, he has obtained more than 300 tokens. His actions are decisive, but his cultivation level doesn't seem much higher. Every attack contains cloud energy and looks extraordinary. It is likely that no one will be his match in this competition. I didn't expect a character like him in this generation. Among the golden figures, anyone who saw Wang Lin's performance in the vortex was shocked. The teachers on the square all looked at Wang Lin with shock in their eyes. Su Dao's teacher's face was filled with a proud smile. The better Wang Lin performed, the better his reward. Inside the first trial, Wang Lin could clearly feel a large amount of distortions appear as he collected tokens and took down the geniuses from Su Dao's memory. These distortions were due to the changes in the memory and science of the third soul's memories being changed. The simulation is not strong enough. Wang Lin shook his head, and his divine sense spread across the whole area. The moment his divine sense spread out, everyone here appeared in Wang Lin's mind. He was looking for the geniuses that had made Su Dao extremely jealous back then. These people had displayed dazzling performances and obtained high rankings in the following trials too. One person was named Kunpeng. This person specialized in speed and left afterimages as he moved. In 7-colored S memory, this person was ranked 3rd in the first trial. Wang Lin's gaze was calm as he stepped through the void. He crossed a large distance with 1 step and arrived in another area. Here, he saw the cultivator named Kunpeng. There were 3 people around this person, but the moment Wang Lin appeared, the 3 of them let out miserable screams and retreated. Kunpeng revealed a cold smile and was about to chase when he suddenly turned around. He glared at Wang Lin, who was floating 100 feet behind him. The distortion was something only Wang Lin could see. As Wang Lin closed in on Kunpeng, the distortion became even more intense, as if the third soul was getting excited. "Give me your token," Wang Lin said slowly. He really didn't want to have to act against a little cultivator like this. Kunpeng's pupils shrank, and he retreated without hesitation. He was very fast and quickly retreated far away, but in Wang Lin's eyes, he was too slow. He let out a sigh and casually waved his right hand. Kunpeng let out a miserable scream and threw out more than a dozen jade tokens. As the tokens flew through the air, the distortion increased greatly. The aura from the 8 doors became more dense, but that was still not enough for them to completely reveal themselves. Is the simulation still not enough? Then I'll help you kill Zhou Li. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes, and his divine sense locked onto Zhou Li. Zhou Li was in a sorry state and was carefully hiding himself in a mountain. He had 8 tokens with him. Damn Su Dao. If not for him, the Cloud Dao heavenly art would have been mine, and I wouldn't be in such a sorry state in the first trial. All of this is because of Su Dao. I'm going to kill him. Zhou Li sat there with a fierce expression. He hated Su Dao to the bone. He entered the sect much later than me. What qualifications does he have to learn the Cloud Dao heavenly art? Why does teacher value him so much? Zhou Li's heart was filled with resentment. He clenched his teeth and focused on healing himself, but the mountain he was in trembled. After Zhou Li was startled for a moment, the mountain rumbled. His expression changed greatly, and he rushed out. The moment he left the mountain, it collapsed, and a few of the rocks headed for Zhou Li. He tried to dodge them but was still hit by one. He coughed out blood as he retreated 1,000 feet away from the mountain. At the same time, Wang Lin's figure appeared behind Zhou Li. Wang Lin calmly said, "Zhou Li." These 2 words were like thunder that entered Zhou Li's mind. The moment he rushed forward to escape, Wang Lin's right hand pressed down on Zhou Li's forehead. At this moment, the rumble in Zhou Li's head became eternal. The moment Zhou Li died, Wang Lin clearly felt the distortion around him become even more crazy and rumble faintly. It was as if the world created by the 5th flower was on the edge of collapse. The aura of the 8 doors became clear in an instant. Wang Lin immediately felt the locations of 3 of the doors. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a mysterious light. Without hesitation, he moved and his divine sense spread out to find the rest of the Donglin sect disciples. They were filled with fear as Wang Lin took away their jade tokens. The more jade tokens he took, the more intense the distortion became, and the 3rd soul would tremble even more. Everything Wang Lin did was the opposite of the 3rd soul's memories. This powerful contrast was about to tear the memory apart, and Wang Lin could feel the auras of the 8 doors even more clearly. The Donglin sect's competition will no longer have a 2nd or 3rd trial. If I take all the jade tokens in the first trial, there won't be any more trials as I'll be the only winner. This will completely subvert the memories of the 3rd soul. Wang Lin's eyes shined as he quickly moved. All the Donglin sect disciples lost their jade tokens to Wang Lin as he passed them. If anyone dared to resist, Wang Lin would immediately knock them away. However, Wang Lin had no feud against them. Even though they were people from 7-colored's memory, he didn't carelessly kill them. Only those that 7-colored was jealous of and had a vicious encounter with later on were killed by Wang Lin. Every time he killed one, the distortion behind him would increase greatly. It was as if the 3rd soul had become excited in this chaos. The rapid wind swept by. On the square of the Donglin sect outside, they all stood up. Their surroundings were distorted, and some figures even showed signs of collapsing. However, they weren't aware at all as their gazes were locked onto the vortex that had stopped rotating in the sky. They saw Wang Lin's actions and saw how he obtained almost all the jade tokens by himself. They saw a shocking moment that had never been seen before in the Donglin sect. Their shocked expressions and thoughts were all things imagined by 7-colored. At this moment, a huge wave was set off in the Donglin sect. In the first trial, when Wang Lin obtained the last jade token, the distortion here was shocking. The auras of the 8 doors were very clear, but it felt like there was still a layer of fog in the way. Wang Lin changed into the dim sky and his hands ripped at the sky. Wang Lin grabbed the sky and tore open a giant rift. Outside the rift was the main square of the Donglin sect. Wang Lin walked out into the square before everyone's shocked expressions. He floated in the sky above the Donglin sect. I, Su Dao, am rank 1 in this competition. After Wang Lin spoke, the sky and earth collapsed. All figures disappeared and everything in this world shattered. The 5th flower trembled and crumbled inch by inch. At the same time, the auras of the 8 doors completely appeared as the 3rd soul's memories were subverted. Their auras shot into the air like pillars of smoke. The only thing that didn't collapse was the back mountain of the Donglin sect, the Donglin pool. Wishing for the like button for the VIDEO, hoping to double the likes on the VIDEO. In the meantime, everyone, throw your spare ones here. The Dong Lin Pool, something the seven-colored celestial sovereign had never entered before. Even after he was picked to be raised by his ancestor, he had never entered the Dong Lin Pool. When he finally obtained the qualification to enter the Dong Lin Pool, he was expelled from the Dong Lin sect due to an accident. This was something he regretted for the rest of his life. At this moment, the world was collapsing, but only the Dong Lin Pool remained. This showed how much the third soul cared about this regret in his life. The auras of the 8 doors clearly appeared in the collapsing world. This loosened the restriction that made it so only Wang Lin could enter this world. After all, Wang Lin had activated the 5th flower with the third soul, so once he entered, not even old Ghost Zhan could enter. However, as the memory became confused and collapsed, old Ghost Zhan's aura was circling this world. He was constantly trying to enter this world. Right now, although the 8 doors had appeared, the real one hadn't revealed itself yet. If he tried to search them one by one, it would take a lot of time. After all, Wang Lin had made the 8 doors appear by taking a shortcut. He had forced them to appear by confusing the third soul's memories. The world was being destroyed. It was likely that this place would collapse before he found the real door, then the 8 doors would be hidden again. At that time, it would be even more difficult to find the door. He had finally created this opportunity and would definitely not let it go to waste. Is the stimulation still not enough? Sudao, you left the Dong Lin sect, but I can help you fulfill your last wish to enter the Dong Lin Pool. Very well. I, Wang Lin, will help you fulfill your wish. But you have to tell me where the real door is. Wang Lin knew that time was of the essence. Old Ghost Zhan could break the fragile barrier on this world at any moment. Wang Lin no longer hesitated. He charged toward the Dong Lin Pool that hadn't collapsed. He closed in on the pool in an instant. This pool was exactly the same as the pool in the second flower, only it wasn't frozen. The pool was clear, and a fragrance was flowing out of it. He instantly sat inside the pool and sat down. The moment he sat down and touched the pool, the 7 essences inside Wang Lin's body moved. This pool was very strange, and it contained an unimaginable essence energy. It rushed into his body and fused with his 7 essences. As they fused, Wang Lin's 7 essences grew and became several times stronger. After cycling inside his body, the 7 essences rushed out. The fire essence in Wang Lin's left eye turned into a sea of fire and entered the Dong Lin Pool. It seemed to absorb endless power and turned into a fire body. This body looked exactly the same as Wang Lin, but it was made of fire. It was formed by the fire essence. At this point, Wang Lin's fire essence completely surpassed what it was before and became complete. The fire body was wearing clothes of fire, and a powerful aura erupted. Countless arcs of thunder moved inside the pool. A moment later, there was a thunderous rumble and a thunder dragon flew out from the pool and took human shape. At the same time, thunder rushed out from Wang Lin's right eye and turned into a thunder dragon that rushed into the pool. Just like the fire body, this thunder body also looked like Wang Lin. He looked like a thunder celestial. Shortly after, the life and death, true and false, and karma essences silently appeared. The Dong Lin Pool suddenly lost more than half of its water and condensed the 3 ethereal essences. The life and death essence formed a body before Wang Lin. This body opened its arms. Its left hand controlled life and its right hand controlled death. It looked like a celestial that controlled life and death. Its gray robe and long fluttering hair was a shocking sight. Beside the life and death true body, the karma and true and false essences formed 2 bodies as well. For the karma true body, its open palm was karmic cause and its closed palm was karmic effect. This body gave off an otherworldly feeling, and its eyes were filled with endless wisdom, as if it had seen through all changes in the world. The true and false true body's eyes were half closed. It seemed to be alternating between true and false, as if it were covered by fog. However, this body gave off a pressure that would make one's heart tremble. All 5 essences had formed true bodies, but this wasn't the end. Wang Lin's killing essence appeared and absorbed a large amount of water. When there was less than 30% of the pool remaining, the slaughter essence formed its true body. This body was made of killing intent and was completely red. The moment it appeared, it gave off a killing intent that could destroy the world. After the 6 essences came the restriction essence formed by the bloodlines in Wang Lin's eyes. The bloodlines flew out before Wang Lin, and they looked like a pair of eyes. The water from the pool decreased once more until there was less than 20% left. The restriction essence was complete and formed a true body. It floated before him, becoming his seventh essence true body. The shock in Wang Lin's heart had reached the limit. He had forgotten that old Ghost John was ready to rush in and that the true door was still hidden among the 8 doors. He could have never expected the Dong Lin pool to have such an amazing effect that could allow his essences to evolve into essence true bodies, which he had never seen or heard of before. This turn of events was outside of his expectations. He didn't expect such a shocking change to occur. However, he understood that all of this was an illusion. The Dong Lin pool was formed by the third soul's memories, and it was all based on the possibility of this happening. Once the world collapsed completely, he would return to the real world and all of this would disappear. However, this gave Wang Lin hope. It allowed him to know the importance of the Dong Lin pool. If I can go to the immortal astral continent, I need to head to the Dong Lin pool. Wang Lin could hear a voice echo like crazy in his heart. He knew that although the current him was an illusion, his cultivation level had increased several-fold. However, this was not over yet. An even more shocking change came from the pool with less than 20% of its water left. Wang Lin didn't only have 7 essences, he had an 8th one. The 8th essence was the water essence he had obtained from the formation on planet 5 elements. However, it had only reached small completion, and was far from reaching major completion for his cultivation level to increase. However, at this moment, the water inside the Dong Lin pool entered Wang Lin's body through his pores and fused with his water essence. Wang Lin's heart pounded as he felt the 8th essence rapidly become stronger. When all the water disappeared from the Dong Lin pool, the water essence was complete. It also formed an essence true body. The true body wore a water wave shirt and its whole body was crystal clear like water. The moment it formed, Wang Lin's late-stage spirit void cultivation rapidly increased. In an instant, he reached the peak of the spirit void stage and was only one step from arcane void. If he could form the 9th essence, he would step into the arcane void stage. The 9 essences would fuse into one and reach the peak of essences. After the Dong Lin pool lost all its water, countless cracks appeared. It collapsed into countless pieces and disappeared into the void. The Dong Lin pool, the only thing that remained in this destroyed world, collapsed completely. Wang Lin opened his eyes. At this instant, the world created from 7-colored memory was completely destroyed. Old Ghost John's aura suddenly entered and flew toward Wang Lin. At the same time as the world collapsed, the aura of one of the 8 doors suddenly increased greatly and suppressed the remaining 7 doors. This was the real door, the one that led to the immortal astral continent. Wang Lin suddenly looked up. As old Ghost John closed in, Wang Lin leaped up. Popping sounds came from his body. Although this powerful feeling and high cultivation level were all fake, they had opened up the door to a bright future for Wang Lin. As he stepped forward, the world collapsed completely under his feet. The world of 7-colored memory collapsed, but the aura of the real door became even stronger. It was straight ahead. Old Ghost John seemed to have gone crazy and quickly closed in. However, he could not catch up to Wang Lin, who had learned the Cloud Dao heavenly art and formed 8 essence true bodies. Wang Lin only took one step and appeared before the real door. This place was originally a mountain that had long been destroyed. What replaced it was a door. This door gave off an ancient aura and was extremely large. Wang Lin was like an ant before it. The moment Wang Lin closed in on the door, he didn't hesitate at all to raise his right hand. All of his ancient Dao power and cultivation gathered in his palm and pressed against the door. Door to the cave, open, Wang Lin roared, and the 8 essence true bodies appeared. They all raised their hands and pressed against the door. The door trembled and a thunderous rumble echoed. A gap appeared and the door began to open. Outside the gap was the immortal astral continent, the vast real world. Wang Lin was the first person from inside the cave to come here after the door had been sealed. It was impossible to describe his mood. Perhaps Taoist scattered spirit had the same feeling as him when he left the 7 million worlds and appeared in the ancient star system. The moment the door opened, a surge of pure immortal astral continent aura rushed out. Wishing for the like button for the VIDEO. Thinking nonsense, wishing for the like button for the VIDEO. You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Chapter Mountain of Restrictions. TL Void, Metal Max, TLC PD. At a demon killer, Pady. Wang Lin beckoned with his right hand, and the flying sword immediately flew into his hand. Wang Lin, controlling it cautiously, very carefully put it in his storage bag, after which he breathed a sigh of relief. He definitely didn't want to stab himself with the flying sword that he had refined himself, and perish to the poison. After putting away the flying sword, Wang Lin stood up and stared at the black stone bridge and without saying anything further stepped forward. The flock of hurricane behind him sent out howling cries and followed closely behind. Wang Lin was very careful as he cautiously moved forward. This road of no return seemed very long, and after he started walking on it, the scenery around him immediately started changing. The length of the black stone bridge in front of him immediately shrunk to only about 100 feet. On the other side of the bridge, there slowly appeared a giant vortex. Wang Lin's eyes flashed. After remaining silent for a bit, he suddenly extended his right hand. A small beast immediately came flying and fell onto Wang Lin's hands. Wang Lin flicked his hands, and the small beast rushed out as quickly as lightning, with its target being the vortex on the other side of the bridge. The small beast had been just flown less than 100 feet, before a purple lightning as thick as an arm suddenly fell from the sky, accurately striking the small beast. In an instant, the small beast was reduced to ashes. Wang Lin's expression didn't change. If not for the restrictions in this place, then would have only needed to accelerate to full speed, and in a few breaths he would have been able to leap across. Because of all these restrictions, he can only walk forward slowly, one step at a time. He certainly could not accelerate suddenly. He looked at the path with less than 1,000 feet remaining. Taking a deep breath, he continued forward. Each step was made with his full concentration. After he had gone forward 100 feet, suddenly a dense gray fog appeared in the surroundings. In the same instant, the flock of hurricanes following behind him disappeared. Along with them, even the second devil vanished completely, even Wang Lin's divine consciousness link, as if impeded by an invisible barrier, couldn't detect them. Subconsciously, Wang Lin was just about to turn his head back to look, but the moment he was about to turn back, he abruptly. Wang Lin's complexion darkened. Then after remaining silent for a bit, the corners of his mouth turned to reveal a sneer as he continued to walk forward. This walk continued for another 100 feet. Suddenly, from behind him came an earth-shattering roar, the bridge's floor trembled, and Wang Lin immediately stabilized himself. This roar sounded quite familiar. Clearly it was the voice of that wild beast red aquatic dragon that he had encountered in the passage. A fishy-smelling hot breath blew across him from behind. Wang Lin closed his eyes and didn't use his divine consciousness to look. Since this place was called the Road of No Returns, then the meaning between the lines is that once one has stepped forward, then under no circumstances can you turn back. It seemed to be quite simple, but under Wang Lin's analysis, he determined that this place cannot be as simple as it seems. It seemed very probable that not only one cannot go back, but also one cannot turn their head back to look, and even cannot look through the divine consciousness. In short, everything must be in accordance to the two words no return. If there was a mistake, then same as the small beast from before, their fate was to be buried on this bridge. Although it was not possible to turn back, and one cannot use divine consciousness to view, but Wang Lin can imagine it, so feeling the hot smelly breath, there was only one possibility, that the red aquatic dragon has opened his dense ghastly big mouth just behind him. However, although Wang Lin was startled, his expression didn't become chaotic. It was impossible for that red aquatic dragon to appear here. He thought that this certainly must be some kind of illusion. At this point, suddenly a red light flashed past his right side. Suddenly, Wang Lin's pupils narrowed, as the red light was clearly the core. Cold sweat trickled down his forehead as he squinted to look at his own right shoulder, a thick and viscous object, which seemed to be emitting a strange smell. Wang Lin took a deep breath. Gradually his eyes became calm. His footsteps also became calm, while he gently walked forward. Around his body, the red core spit out more and more frequently, roared out from behind, and even exhaled out breath which upon hitting the corner of his clothes made a crashing sound, while a bloodthirsty killing intent could be felt being transmitted from behind. Wang Lin looked at this clothes making flapping sounds. The corners of his mouth turned to reveal a sneer. If just a moment ago he was uncertain, then definitely after seeing the mucus on his right shoulder, before he was not sure whether it was an illusion or not. But now, after seeing his clothes being blown, he didn't have even the slightest doubt in his heart that this definitely was an illusion. The reason lay in the clothing. If there were really behind him a dignified wild beast, and the distance was this close, then with just his breath his body would have flown quite far away. But now it seemed as if only his clothing was being waved around. Wang Lin steeled his will, without showing any hesitation continued to move on, leaving behind whatever sound was coming from behind him. He didn't stop. At this time, from behind a red aquatic dragon's fierce roar came, as its mouth moved to devour him. Wang Lin could see clearly from the corner of his eyes. Without even blinking, he maintained his gentle pace, and without any fluctuation continued to walk calmly. The moment the aquatic dragon swallowed him, its body turned into a lump of gray fog and dissipated. After it dissipated into nothingness, Wang Lin's figure slowly emerged from the mist. He had walked all the way up to 900 feet, and saw that now there was only 100 feet remaining. Then he would be able to pass through this bridge, but at this time from behind him, a slight coughing sound appeared. This cough had a very small sound, but when it fell on Wang Lin's ears, it was as if a bolt from the blue, as thunder echoed in his brain. His footsteps couldn't help stop abruptly while his body trembled. 2 lines of tears flowed down from the corners of his eyes. That coughing sound continued. Wang Lin knew that these were all illusions, were all lies, but still he had the urge to turn his head to have a look. Taiju, turn around and let your father have a look. This familiar voice came slowly. Wang Lin clenched his fist, closing both his eyes. As he decisively opened his eyes, he took a deep breath and continued to walk forward. Taiju, that mother wants to have a look at her son. How could you be so cruel without even looking back? Wang Lin closed his eyes once more. His footsteps trembled slightly, but he still firmly walked forward. There was not even a slightest hesitation. He discovered that in this 100 feet, his parent's voice constantly reverberated in his ears. The instant that he stepped onto the end, the voice of his parents disappeared, and the shrieking sound of the flock hurricanes once again reached his ears, and he could once again sense the second devil. Wang Lin did not turn around. He remained silent for a long time in front of the vortex. With a light sigh, he took out the jade talisman given by Li Mu Wan, and after opening it, and wrapping the flock of hurricanes, went into the vortex along with it. With the purple lightning pulling, Wang Lin disappeared inside the vortex. When he walked out from the vortex, a towering mountain appeared in front of him. Its peak was covered in curling mists and simply couldn't be seen, and standing at its foot, Wang Lin's figure appeared so insignificant. The moment he saw the mountain peak, Wang Lin was stumped for words, but very soon he immediately started analyzing. This road of no return, he decided, was surely not the second barrier, otherwise from the conversations of Gudi, Duanmuji, and others from before. The third barrier that needed Wang Lin's death curse technique had a noticeably different description. Although he couldn't make out any sign from his divine consciousness, but Wang Lin, looking at the mountain peak standing tall and erect, in his heart had already guessed that perhaps this place was the second barrier. He swept away with his divine consciousness, and immediately his pupils narrowed, as his eyes were fixed onto the foot of the mountain, where it had obviously met with a destroyed restriction, flickering with traces of red light from within. Wang Lin, after pondering a little, walked towards the mountain peak, and not long after, he arrived in front of the place of restriction. This place was obviously destroyed, as it revealed a clear path passed by a person. On both sides of the road, a red aura flashed. Wang Lin looked to examine a bit closer. When he had looked up to see towards the summit, he became extremely cautious. Now he could determine that on this mountain peak, someone had surely come before him. This definitely was the second barrier. All around him there was nothing else. Obviously this mountain was the key to clearing this barrier. And there was only one path. That was to climb up to the peak. If an ordinary mortal were to climb this mountain, especially when you couldn't even estimate the height of the mountain, then it could be said to be a very difficult thing, but for cultivators, it shouldn't be of any difficulty. However, if Wang Lin were to judge by his experience, this mountain would certainly also have some restrictions on flight, and one could only climb up by foot, not even with sword threading. After remaining silent for a bit, Wang Lin looked behind him at the flock of hurricanes and waved his right hand. Those over 40 hurricanes immediately began to integrate and gradually became a huge hurricane. Wang Lin leapt and rushed towards the hurricane. The instant that he bumped into the hurricane, it split open a passage as if greeting Wang Lin and allowed him to enter. Standing within the hurricane, Wang Lin moved it with his thoughts. The hurricane immediately began moving forward. Just after they passed through the restriction, Wang Lin realized through his divine consciousness that the restriction was actually slowly recovering and would soon return back to normal. Wang Lin's heart sank. If these restrictions can automatically recover, then he can use the method he used in the first barrier of letting other people clear the way for him. With that thought, the divine consciousnesses of the several tens of thousands of small beasts in the hurricane suddenly condensed together in the same place, recognizing the leadership of Wang Lin's divine consciousness, and taking the second devil as a relay as they swept around on all sides. He carefully controlled this huge divine consciousness, and after investigating it from bottom to top, Wang Lin's face sank. This place can be said to have a restriction at each and every step, and almost all positions were covered with restrictions. If this mountain was called the Mountain of Restrictions, then it would not be an exaggeration. Under these restrictions, let alone climbing upwards, if one was not careful and even touched this restriction, then one would end up in a situation of becoming a skeleton with no chance of survival. Wang Lin probed with his divine consciousness. The restrictions were quickly recovering, and almost in an instant had recovered to their usual state. Wang Lin retracted his divine consciousness. After pondering a bit, he went out from the hurricane and took out a storage bag. As he beckoned with his right hand, the hurricane behind him suddenly, together with the second devil, suddenly drilled inside it. This storage bag Wang Lin had obtained from an insect cultivator, although magic weapons cannot be deposited inside this bag, but for living creatures alone it may be effective, guaranteeing survival and freedom inside it. After Wang Lin had obtained, it had experimented with the small beasts a few days ago, and indeed it really had the effect, and it could be used to exclusively deposit the small beasts. After the small beast of the hurricane had entered inside it, Wang Lin tied up the bag around his waist. Then taking a deep breath, he began carefully walking forward, while spreading out his divine consciousness, examining his surroundings closely. Just now, when he had swept away with the condensed divine consciousness of the small beasts, he had noticed that between the restrictions, there were certain locations where the passage was too small, and the hurricane would be simply unable to pass, and with the restrictions all surrounding it, once it touches them, they would be triggered. Therefore, he gave up on the plan of rushing to the summit with the hurricane. Wishing for the like button for the VIDEO, hoping to charge through the trending charts for the VIDEO this month. A gap opened in the door, and the aura of the immortal astral continent rushed in. The world collapsed behind Wang Lin, and old Ghost John appeared. The shadow wearing the cape revealed a monstrous ghostly light in his eyes and stared at Wang Lin. For some unknown reason, a sense of life and death had rushed into his heart when the door opened. Wang Lin stood beside the door and turned to look at old Ghost John in the distance. The aura from the immortal astral continent rushed in through the gap. This made Wang Lin's ancient Tao bloodline cheer, and his blood flow accelerated. It seemed to be absorbing this aura. The sense of danger in old Ghost John's heart became even stronger. He didn't close in, but began to speak in the distance. Even if you open the door, you won't dare to leave. Although I don't have the memories of the third soul, there is still some instinct left in the souls. There is a barrier between the cave world and the immortal astral continent. Only those with the bloodline of the immortal astral continent can leave. Even if you have the call of the bloodline and can leave, if you don't hand over the third soul, then I'll kill everyone you care about the moment you leave this cave. Now that the door has been opened, there is no deep feud between us. Give me the third soul and I'll leave this place, and never return to the cave world. Old Ghost John's words seemed to contain a strange force. Wang Lin didn't speak. He couldn't hand over the third soul. To him, this soul was not the seven-colored celestial sovereign Su Dao, but his disciple, Shiqin. While silently pondering, Wang Lin raised his right hand and two ghostly lights flashed. These two balls of light gave off a ghostly glow. Inside were bloodlines. These were Shi Qing's heart blood, Shi Qing was a reincarnation of the third soul, and at the cost of his life, he had formed 3 seals. One was for his own soul, and the other 2 had been given to Wang Lin. This was the last thing he had done for his teacher before he died. After these 2 seals fused with the aura from the immortal astral continent, they would have the power to seal the other 2 souls. The moment the 2 seals appeared, the large amount of immortal astral continent aura that came through the small gap in the door rushed toward Wang Lin's right hand. The aura quickly fused with the seal. The ghostly light suddenly increased as if 2 ghostly suns had appeared in Wang Lin's right hand. Wang Lin's body was a blur inside this light, and even the door behind Wang Lin was eventually shrouded. The door looked hazy from afar. However, the power of this seal wasn't complete. It was still absorbing the aura from the immortal astral continent. The door was only opened a sliver, so the absorption rate was a bit slow. When old Ghost John felt the sealing power, his pupils shrank. He finally understood why he was feeling a life and death crisis. This came from the sealing force that appeared after the seal began absorbing the immortal astral continent aura. There was a flash of coldness in old Ghost John's eyes, and he charged at Wang Lin without hesitation. He knew it wasn't time to retreat, even though the sense of danger was very strong. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. He moved very fast and instantly arrived within 1,000 feet of Wang Lin. Old Ghost John raised his hand and a golden battle character shot toward Wang Lin. At the same time, an overlapping shadow appeared over the 7-colored soul shadow around old Ghost John. The soul of the 7-colored Taoist suddenly appeared. His body gave off a 7-colored glow and rushed toward Wang Lin. Shortly after, the soul covered in a cape opened his arms. The cape on his body extended like a wave and flew toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression was calm, and the 2 seals in his hand were still absorbing the aura from the immortal astral continent. As old Ghost John and the 2 7-colored souls closed in, he raised his left hand and pushed forward. With this, Wang Lin's 8 essence true bodies all appeared and pushed their hands forward. Thunderous rumbles echoed, and the collapsing 5th flower dissipated, rapidly revealing Tao Master Blue Dream, the old man named Ma from Planet 5 Elements, Tang Shan, and others. There were also the seriously injured Black Tortoise General and Vermilion Bird General. The moment the essence true bodies came out, old Ghost John's expression changed. He didn't have the memories from the 3rd soul, so he didn't recognize them. However, the old man named Ma's eyes were filled with fear and disbelief when he saw the essence true bodies. Essence true body. This is essence true body. It is already very rare for one person to have just one essence true body, but he actually has 8. Rumor has it that aside from going to the primordial god realm, there is another method to obtain the essence true body. Although his method was never proven, it shows how rare it is. Thunderous rumbles echoed. Wang Lin and his 8 essence true bodies attacked at the same time. Old Ghost John, the 7-colored soul, and the soul with the cape all trembled, and they were forced back. This was the first time Wang Lin had faced old Ghost John up front and forced old Ghost John back. Wang Lin's body trembled. A powerful force entered his body through his left hand and entered the 8 essence true bodies behind him. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Borrowing this force, his left hand drew an arc and he retreated to press his left hand on the door. The door rumbled, and at the same time, the 8 essence true bodies also retreated and smashed into the door. As the thunderous rumbles echoed, the door was pushed back even more, from just a crack until it was open nearly 30%. At this moment, the door no longer needed someone to push it open. As the powerful immortal astral continent rushed in, the door slowly opened on its own, wider and wider. At the same time, even more immortal astral continent aura rushed out and fused with the 2 seals in Wang Lin's hand. As the expression of old Ghost John changed greatly, Wang Lin raised his right hand. Old Ghost John's eyes were filled with fear. He didn't have time to hesitate, and quickly retreated. Wang Lin looked at the seal in his hand. He faintly saw Shi Qing, and sadness filled his eyes. Shi Qing, you re my disciple, and also my master. Wang Lin let out a sigh and waved his right hand. The 2 seals flew out toward the escaping old Ghost John. These seals were like fate. No matter how fast old Ghost John was, he couldn't escape fate. Those 2 seals instantly closed in on old Ghost John. Before old Ghost John's terrified expression, the first seal charged for his forehead. Old Ghost John let out a roar and his hands formed a seal. As a spell appeared, the soul with the cape around him revealed fear in his eyes. He waved his hand and light shot out toward the seal. However, all spells and lights were unable to stop this seal. It was as if nothing existed before it. The seal penetrated through everything and gently landed between the eyebrows of the shadow with the cape around Old Ghost John. The moment it landed, the soul with the cape let out a miserable scream. A shadow that overlapped it appeared, and it instantly changed into the seven-colored soul. The seal ultimately landed between the eyebrows of the seven-colored soul. A thunderous rumble echoed as the seal exploded and surrounded the seven-colored soul. From a distance, it looked like a net, and the seven-colored soul shrank with the net until it was only the size of a fist. The light from the soul dimmed. At this moment, Old Ghost John rapidly retreated, and ripples appeared under his feet. The soul with the cape around Old Ghost John was filled with endless fear as he watched the seal imprint between his eyebrows. The seal dissipated and shrouded his body. In the distance, Tao Master Blue Dream and company were filled with shock. They didn't expect Wang Lin to have such a thing prepared. The old man named Ma and Yun Yifeng looked at Wang Lin with very complicated gazes. They originally thought that Xuan Luo would help with the matter in the cave world in the end. But Xuan Luo hadn't appeared at all, and everything until now relied on Wang Lin. The soul with the cape that entered Old Ghost John was captured by the neck and shrank until it was only the size of a fist. All connection with Old Ghost John was severed. The moment the connection was cut off, Old Ghost John's eyes immediately became dim and black blood flowed out from his mouth. Although his eyes had no light, they became clear. He looked around, and in the end, his gaze fell on Wang Lin, then the door behind Wang Lin. Looking at the door that was opening, Old Ghost John smiled. Excellent. My lifelong dream was to open the door to this cave, but back then I failed my arcane tribulant and was forced to fuse with him. Old Ghost John's body gave off bursts of black gas. His skin withered and large amounts of black liquid dripped from it. He was melting and dying. I should have died many years ago. You've completed my dream and freed me, Wang Lin. Thank you. His voice was very weak, and half his body had already dissipated. However, the remaining half body turned into a ray of red light. His eyes shined as if he had erupted the last of his life force and charged at the half-open door. Even if he was going to die, he had to see the immortal astral continent he had longed for all his life. Wang Lin didn't stop him. He watched Old Ghost John's half-body rush toward the door and watched Old Ghost John disappear outside the door. The video schedule for first is up, and I ask all friends not to be stingy. Remember to share Leo. If you're capable friends, please be prepared to support Leo with a like.